Warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
Need more energy throughout the day? Looking for a kick to your workout? RockinThatIDLife.com has you covered with delicious flavors you've grown to love in tropical fruit and mixed berry, but now fall in love with the new fruit punch and orange flavors. Try them all at RockinThatIDLife.com.
Realtor Mike Burgoyne with Real Brokerage LLC makes the moving process easier. Work with a realtor who plays and studies the game and will work as hard as the boys on the ice to get you the best deal. Check out Mike on the web at strikewithmike.com and jumpstart your move today. That's strikewithmike.com. Welcome to episode number 33 of season 11. This is episode number 400, and I believe it's 9 all time. If it's not 409, it's 408. But I believe it's 409. The all-time of the often imitated, never duplicated. We need that killer instinct, to take the knife. Need to take the knife and jam it through their eye into their brain and kill them. We're the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Special thanks to our sponsors, RockinThatIDLife.com, StrikeWithMike.com, and CenterIceBrewery.com for proudly sponsoring the show. Please check them out. Also, please don't forget to check out the t-shirt shop at letsgoblues.com for the very best in St. Louis Blues themed t-shirts at a fair price. It is Wednesday, April 19th. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. To interact with the show on social media, our handle on the socials is at LGB Radio. I'm Kurt Price, my co-host for the big show tonight are Bill Day and Jeff Ponder, and featuring, how in movies and stuff they have the long list of actors, and then at the end is like featuring,
or it just says and then it's like the biggest actor in
right, the biggest one, right? Make a cameo or something.
Yeah.
Producer Austin lurking in the weeds. The agenda for tonight includes a discussion about the Blues season wrap up. We'll talk a lot about that. Armstrong made some interesting comments about the team. Berube did too. So we'll look at a few of the current playoff matchups and some of the happenings there. Stars and Wild go to 2 OTs. The Maple Leafs implode versus the Lightning.
I'm shocked. that I did not see that coming.
That's sarcasm.
No, not at all.
More sarcasm. All that and more on this
sarcastic
episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. What's up, boys? Watching some playoff hockey that does not involve St. Louis for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Actually, it's it's funny, because for those watching, you can see, and I'm sure you can hear it too if you're listening to the podcast. My beard is gone, and this is the earliest I have shaved my beard in a long time. Even so, I don't remember why, but the year the Blues missed the playoffs in the final game of the year, 2018, I believe, against Colorado. Even then I kept it going. I was like, why not? It's still playoff hockey. Like, I'll keep it going at least through the first 2 rounds. But this year I was like, season's over. See a beard. I haven't had an April where I didn't have a beard in probably since I could grow one. So
really?
Yeah,
it's starting to get warm in April.
Feels weird.
A lot of people do shave their winter beards for the summer.
I do when the Blues season ends. Okay. And lately they've been going till at least the very end of April or early May. So it's weird to have a clean. My birthday's in a couple days. It's going to be weird. I think this is my first birthday since like 17 that I didn't have facial hair.
Whereas I'm just too lazy to shave my shitty beard.
There you go.
Like I don't want to add that back into my daily routine or every other daily routine. So,
well, I'm not really into growing the facial hair because I really can't too well. I can let it go for a while. It comes in patchy. I'm like, screw this. It looks bad. So it's podcast wise and the video here, you probably can't even tell. I could probably not go a few days without shaving. You wouldn't be able to tell.
I made the joke. My hockey team was giving me trouble on Sunday. They're like, you would have made that play if you would have had the beard, that kind of thing. And I kept telling them, like, well, I'll just skip my 7 p.m. shave, and by 9 o'clock it'll be back. So, yeah, I mean, Bill, you made the comment daily, every other day. Honestly, I should shave daily. It does grow back that quickly. But like you, I'm just like, I'm not doing this every fucking day. I'll let it go like a week and it'll get pretty scraggly. But I'm just like, I don't care. I'm used to having a beard. I can deal with scraggle.
Yeah, I can take 30 seconds to trim it up, but I can't take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is.
10 minutes
to go complete shave.
I can shave my whole face, and it takes me like 2 minutes.
Right, like 30 seconds. You can shave your face with tweezers.
Well, I don't even use a razor. It's a electric razor. I just
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
I don't even know if mine will work now. It's been turned off so long and not powered. I have to get a new one.
It's how I stay looking young. Radko, yeah. Ken Morris says Jeff no longer looks like Radko Gudis's twin brother.
Yeah. I always was told Magnus Payarvi when I have a clean face. So,
Yeah.
well, I guess we're back to Magnus Payarvi and no longer the badass Radko Gudis.
Yeah, you gotta fix the hair though, because
I just scored 6 goals against Minnesota in the playoffs.
Now Minnesota's scoring 6 goals against Dallas.
There you go.
All right. So official beers, episode number 409. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. My handle is CPrice12. Jeff says Ponder 94. Bill's as Billy Blue Note 33. Who wants to go first? It's off season.
Yeah.
We have no order.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first.
Go ahead.
So, never had this on the show, and as I said in my post on Untapped and Twitter, this is my only Tampa Bay pick I'm making this playoff season. Maduro brown ale from the fine folks at Cigar City Brewing in Tampa. So, first time I've had the Maduro. I mean, not literally. First time I've bought a 6-pack. This is, I'm halfway through it. Really like it. Really good, strong, brown ale offering. Lots of notes of coffee and chocolate and all the good stuff I like. But yeah, they're if you've never had Cigar City Brewing, pick some up. The High Life is a great summer beer. Very nice citrusy IPA.
Is that themed after the sport?
It is, because it's Florida, right? When I think High Life, the only thing I like, my first thought
New Zealand.
is my first thought is the opening to Miami Vice.
Okay. Yeah.
For those of us of a certain age that got that watch Miami Vice, the images in the open to that show last forever.
I explained actually highlight to Amy the other day. She had never heard of the sport. And I said, "Yeah, it's got
She
the
works
fastest."
at elementary school, right?
Middle school. Yeah.
Middle school. Yeah. Don't they don't do that in school?
Highlight?
I'm pretty sure we played highlight in like elementary school.
You played highlight in school? Where'd you go to? Like a up to well-to-do school?
No, it was not very well to do.
You know what a highlight is, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Got the huge sickle-looking trough things. You whip the ball.
Yeah, I thought. Maybe I'm just thinking of not the big ones.
You're thinking ones. Of the kid, the yard game.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
we did that.
No.
Okay, never mind. Yes, okay, but I did play highlight. Yes,
not unlike. It's not unlike the whole the equipment is not unlike the shape is kind of the same, I guess. But it's got the fastest moving ball in sports.
A lot faster.
I don't know how fast it is, but it's the fastest moving ball in sports. So it'll kill you. So,
hey Bill, I'm gonna totally do this in the middle of the show. Give your microphone a tap there. Just kind of tap on it. You are not coming out of your microphone.
Yeah, it's wrong, Mike.
I just noticed that as you were talking.
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
Well, Kurt and I can talk. You fix that.
Go give your beer, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll go and do my beer. So I'm doing one that if hopefully Bill can still hear me, because I know he'll appreciate. We're doing a Light and Google Summer Shandy. As I told you guys, I went over and mowed my mom's lawn tonight. You guys laughed at that. I did.
Wow.
I did help myself to
Laughing
a
again.
summer shandy after because that is the best post mowing beer.
Boy, you it was just so matter of fact the way you said it. Yep. Went over and mowed my mom's lawn. It was just
How else am I supposed to say it?
I don't know, cut her grass.
I guess.
Cutting the grass has a different meaning than mowing somebody's lawn.
Right.
I don't know. It's
Right.
super childish.
The way you
Very
said
much
it was,
so.
you could have said gave her the what for, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have,
Yeah.
but I didn't.
Everything all together.
Bill, you want to give us another tap there? Tap tap taparoo.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Tap.
Okay.
It's in the sprocket settings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Now's the
Okay.
time when
Kurt, you want to go?
Sprocket's gonna be dance.
Yeah. I'm just drinking straight Budweiser. However, it's in the commemorative can, the Wainwright and Yachty can. The what is it? 32 ounce. This is a big beer.
It's a big one. I got one over there.
It's a big one. Yeah. So I've had a. How many of you out there have had a full can of beer or a full can of soda, like a commemorative one? You put it on a shelf, and the damn thing expands, or it starts to leak, or it like pops out in the bottom. Like it's all bloated. It's all like protruding, like it's got a hernia coming out the bottom of it. Has it ever happened to you?
Oh yeah. So in Missouri, the passenger is allowed to drink in the car. And I remember one time
is ridiculous.
I know, crazy. I know, but that's a whole other conversation.
And
so my buddy was driving us downtown, and I got a 2x4, as they call it, or 2-4. Sorry,
2-4 is beer.
Yeah, it was beer. Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah, that's not 2x4s. Oh, so you got? I thought you meant a little piece of wood.
No, I'm literally talking about drinking beer.
Okay.
Protruding and
2-4.
Yeah, and I had the bottom of the can split out. And like came out real bad, and I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'll just, it's in the car. It's fine." So of course, you don't think about it. You set it in the cup holder, and it's basically like a freaking spinny top as it's sitting in because the bottom's protruding. So beer, I'm not even paying attention. Beer is just going all over my buddy's car, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, man. I'm the worst friend ever. I didn't even think about that."
Wow. Well, I've got 2 of these, so I figured I'd drink them before they start to explode or expand or whatever the hell.
Good call.
So I'm like, I might as well drink them, and then I'll put them on the shelf because I had a Pepsi can. I happened to be sitting in my office last year, had a Blues commemorative Stanley Cup Pepsi can on a shelf across the room, and it was full. And I'm just sitting working on my desk, and all of a sudden I hear this.
Oh boy! And
I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, I thought. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is that noise? I'm like looking around, and I look over, and I'm looking around the shelves. I can't find what it is, and I finally see it's oh my gosh, the Pepsi can is leaking. It was just shooting out a really small, fine stream, such a small hole developed in the can, and it was shooting on the side of the can. I'm like, how is that possible? How does that even work? So weird. I guess Bill's still working on his audio.
He says he thinks he has it. Can he bring himself back in, or do we have to do it?
Oh, sorry.
There. Oh, wait.
All right.
One of you guys let me in.
That's better.
Wow, you sound amazing.
It's stupid. The volume got turned down on the microphone. That's all it was.
Wonderful.
Like we haven't done 32 other shows this year.
How about that? Ending the season in April. That's sad.
You sound much better.
And you look great.
That's great because I feel like shit.
So I guess in this show, before we get started with our segments, right? We'd be remiss to pass along a nice thank you to the sponsors of our show this season. Jeff, do you want to talk about rocking that ID Life? Dustin?
I do. And I did get confirmation he is back for the summer. So I think we're at Kurt, we're gonna have to check this, but I think we're at 2 years with him as our sponsor now, which is amazing.
Dustin's
clearly a big fan of the show. Our favorite listener because he pays us.
And I hope
Matt, just pay us.
Yeah. I hope he's seeing some rewards from that too. I hope it's worth his while.
No,
Yeah.
no. I would imagine if he's sticking around, he clearly is. And yeah, he's he's just he's been a friend of mine. I mean, shit, I've played hockey with him in pretty much my entire adult life. He still plays in all the tournaments. Great dude. And something I love about him, and you'll probably see me drinking because when I do the summer shows, a lot of them are all pre-recorded. So I'll do them in the morning, and I have to make sure I have my Rockin' That ID Life ready. So you will witness me drinking those during the summer shows. But yeah, so one thing he brought up when we were at the tournament, the one, Austin, that I won and you lost, I won this guy right here. Dustin asked me, he's like, hey, have you tried the new lemon lime hydrate? And I just was like, dude, I only like lemon lime Gatorade. That's the only lemon lime flavored anything that I like. So no, I've not tried it, and I'm not going to like
child.
it. And he's like, what do you mean I'm a child?
I'm not going to try it because I'm not going to like it.
Well, I just figured, I'm like, why buy a bag of something I know I'm not going to like? So he was like, well, I got a sample here if you want to try it.
Jeff, you might like it.
Yeah, sure. If you are giving me a free one, yes, I will try it. So he did. It's fucking great. First thing I did, next order I made was I made sure to include the lemon lime hydrate. And he did the same thing with the orange energy. I told him I would hate it. He gave me a sample. I loved it. Everything that he has told me to try has been great. And not only is it good tasting, it helps. Hydrate's great for those of you who work out, need a good, kind of muscle relaxing thing afterward. It works the same as a Gatorade does, but it's better and it tastes better. And it's doesn't have any of it doesn't have the sugar that Gatorade does. It's so good and it's fantastic. You can drink it before bed. The energy, that's what I drink every morning. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not just saying that because Dustin's our sponsor. We just appreciate having Dustin on for so long. And again, he's been a friend of mine for a long time. I think he's become a friend of your guys's now. And again, if you want to show love to our sponsors, they have been great. They've been able to provide a lot of what happens in this show is because of our sponsors. So rockinthatidlife.com, Dustin Paul, he is always willing to help out. You can email him if you have questions, rockinthatidlife@gmail.com. And just an awesome dude, and love having him as a sponsor, and just makes my day that a friend of mine is able to be a part of the show, even though he's not a host.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you. And I do have one more announcement.
Yes.
We real quick, for those of you who are on Twitter, even if you're not, get on there. Check out LGB Radio. We have started our polls for the Blues all-time team. We're starting at left defense. The poll went up today. You've got 7 days to vote. And then we're going to move on to the next position. So, yeah, get on there, vote. LGB Radio on Twitter. We've got a link up on our Facebook page as well if you're on Facebook and you want to find it there. Make sure you get your votes in. And again, comment as well, because the best comments get featured on the show. And I've got a bunch of prizes for this summer. So best comment featured on the show, and you even win something. So make sure you get on there and tell us what you think.
And Jeff, what does it cost to enter that kind of thing?
Hang on. Wait, I crushed some numbers earlier. Hang on. I never finished. Okay, wait. Carry the
and how many?
$0.
Oh, so
it is free.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. How about that?
What a deal! What a bargain that is.
That? Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
Oh yeah.
And am I correct in my understanding that the grand prize is you're gonna mow whoever's lawn?
Yes, I will. All right. You know what? If you're in St. Louis, yeah, there you go. One of you will win a free lawn mowing service by me.
Ponder will come over and mow your lawn.
I will. That would be a hell of a prize. Like, oh man, this radio or this podcast host is coming over to mow my lawn.
You show up shirtless. Or no, you show up.
Yeah. There's the rule is if I have to mow your lawn, I get to do it in short shorts with the pockets hanging out and no shirt.
Or better yet, a black mesh skin tight shirt.
Ooh, I like that. Well, now you're really going to entice people to do this.
I'm just looking at the Dallas just scored 2 goals, went up 4-1 in Minnesota. 14.
Gustafson made a great save.
That's
before
Fleury.
that last one.
Fleury is playing tonight.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
Fleury?
I don't know why he's playing.
Neither does he.
You win game 1. Yeah, he played a lot, but come on, it's playoffs. I mean, they're going to go with a every other night kind of a thing situation, I guess. Maybe with Fleury, and I didn't hear that.
I don't know. I thought Gustafson started this game.
No.
Jeez.
Flower power.
Look at Minnesota overthinking their defense or their goaltending again.
Again.
Jesus, it's a broken record.
No, I haven't watched this game intently. I'm not sure how many of these goals were like, oh, Fleury should have had it.
Minnesota won, and they didn't start Gustafson.
Yeah, I don't know why. But I mean, he did. I mean, it did go double overtime. He played 92 minutes in the first game, but
you're what? Is Dallas not playing Ottinger? No, that's not how it works.
I'm just playing. Yeah,
Minnesota.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
They're mowing your lawn. All right. Blues news. McTavish and Van Ryn. Everyone at Let's Go Blues Radio should pat yourselves on the back. We've only been calling for this all season long, and it finally happened. They have been fired. Let go. They are no longer with the organization. Funny how firing a couple assistant coaches is a big deal, right? But it is.
This was it because you could literally point at where the problems were with this team, and it was defense and special teams of a guy who was relieved of those in November, but still, it makes sense. We pat ourselves in the back and say it was us, but everybody fucking knew those guys had to.
Well,
go.
I don't want to toot our own horn too much, even though I do enjoy tooting my horn. As a matter of fact, I'm going to toot after the show. But
can we get video of that?
We were calling for this long before I heard anybody else saying anything about that. It was like fed up, done. This is writing on the wall. They got to go. The defense is the exact same as last year. They're not playing any better. Go out, done. We all season long.
Austin, I won't ask you to look it up, but I want to say I was the first one.
I was going to say yes, you were,
and I think it was early November.
It was early. It was really early. When it was clear,
very early.
When it was clear, this defense had not improved at all from last season.
Well, and like I said, it was hidden last year a lot because Husso was just a madman, and then Binnington in the playoffs was a madman, and it was just okay. This is the bad defense is getting hidden by not just good goaltending, groundbreaking goaltending. I mean, they were phenomenal last year. And then Binnington, I'm sorry, I know we've had this talk in exhaustion, but Binnington to me came back to being a slightly above average goalie. I know people will say he was fucking awful. You're wrong.
Dead wrong.
To me, at the very least, a slightly above average goalie. And this defense is just backdoor chance. Insane what we saw this year from that defense.
You okay, Austin? You look...
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I thought he was passed out. I thought he was passed out.
Austin, get out of here and go to bed, man.
What? No, I'm fine.
All right. See you later.
It's only...
I thought he was passed out in the corner. It's like his head was up to the side of his shoulders. Sorry, Austin. Don't put him in a spot like that. Not really. I'm not sorry. Armstrong said, and I quote, "I would say that the resume pool is going to be open for all applicants," referring to the vacant assistant jobs. From junior hockey to college hockey to the American League hockey to NHL experience to no experience coaching. He said, "I want to get working on my summer project so I can find the right guy that has the skill sets to deal with today's people," end quote. And his summer project is basically understand the kids because we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want to mow Jeremy Rutherford along, but yeah, I mean, he said that's his number one project is basically getting to understand kids. And then he makes a comment about the assistants here. Does this not? And again, I'm just trying to read between the lines here with what Armstrong said. Does this not scream to you with the comments about wanting to understand the kids on the team, and then talking about how here resume pool is going to be open from junior hockey to college hockey, the American Hockey League to NHL? To me, that screams he's looking for somebody young to come in, somebody with a different mindset than what we've seen from other NHL defensive coaches, and get somebody fresh-faced, brand new to work with these veterans and see if he can get more blood from the stone.
That's exactly what I have my notes here. Sounds like he's possibly thinking of going with some younger assistant coaches, which,
yeah,
I mean, I'm all for it. You know, the retreads. Well, Ben Ryan's not really a retread, but McTavish was a crash and burn acquisition.
Boy, that one was
bad.
Whew, does that not turn out? And I know that there's no ranking of like worst hirings of assistant coaches, but that's got to rank up there, right? That
disaster.
Almost instantly, you could tell that was not the right hire.
Yeah, and was it that surprising that Montgomery was going to get a job elsewhere, that we didn't have ideas for who should come in? And it just kind of seemed like last minute, like, oh, Craig McTavish is available. Well, let's see what he can do. Did you know he didn't?
I agree.
He was the last player in the NHL that wear a helmet. Yeah, let's bring him in.
He played here too, so that'd be a good acquisition.
Yeah.
No, didn't work out too well at all. Basically lost his duties November, was it? And who knows what he was doing after that.
Yeah.
It's weird how that's not defined either. You know, in baseball, you know what assistant coaches do. In hockey, sometimes it's like not reported. We didn't know that McTavish had his duties stripped from him for a couple of weeks, you know, until after. And they're like, oh, well, they don't talk about that stuff. It's so weird that that's just not covered.
The hard-hitting Blues reporting.
Yeah,
I mean, JR does a good job on The Athletic, but, you know, not something we would ever expect to get from Thomas, and that's who we learned it from, right? It was like a side comment in one of his weekly posts.
Right. It wasn't even brought up as a main story. I'm like, what? That's a big deal, because the penalty kill was struggling so hard, and it's like, I will just, you know, oh yeah, his duties were stripped a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
I covered it in the chat thing that I do that 5 people read.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that was
Jim.
bad. I was like, oh, and when he was asked about it on Twitter, it was, well, that wasn't covered. Why didn't you say something? Oh yeah, it was covered in the chat. The chat, the thing that's not archived, you can't go back and read.
Yeah. Terrible.
That only people that pay for your shitty newspaper could access.
I was like, come on, man.
I know it probably sounds like we're slightly bitching about Jim Thomas, and I'm going to bring that a little further. Not bitching about him, because that's not his fault. I'm going to bitch about the Post-Dispatch for a second, and I know you guys are going to agree with this. Okay, Jim Thomas is retired, which, hey, excellent career, man. Go enjoy your retirement. Happy for you, and thank you for the last couple of years of Blues coverage. But talking to you, Post-Dispatch, go get a hockey
guy.
Stop bringing in
Jeff Gordon.
Football guys to turn into hockey guys.
Yeah, not the hockey guy, Jeff Gordon.
Right.
A real hockey guy. A guy who can really talk hockey.
Anyone but Jeff Gordon,
oh my God.
basically.
Bring an outsider.
Right?
No.
They brought the guy from Dallas.
Is he with the Post?
Yeah, I thought so.
Why?
Is he taking over the beat?
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Well, if he is, that's great, because he is much more of a hockey guy.
Yes.
Than the hockey guy.
Than the hockey guy. Yeah, than any I'm telling you, well, we all know this, that there are not many hockey guys in St. Louis sports media. Very few that can actually talk hockey. So
my wife's more of the hockey guy than the hockey
who
guy.
can talk hockey?
Put it like that.
Jamie Rivers.
Rivers obviously, right. He can talk hockey.
But written word, who do we have?
Written word?
Yeah, like a writer, a journalist.
I was going to say Randy Carricker, but he's not a writer.
No.
Nobody. Who?
Yeah, Rutherford is the only one.
Yeah,
obviously. And again, not busting Rutherford's balls, but he was there before Jim, right? What did Rutherford do before hockey? Football. And he was brought in to cover hockey.
Yeah.
He's told a story on this show before about when he started covering the Blues and how he didn't know any of the terminology. And hey, it worked out. JR's great.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong.
Well,
I'm not saying anything negative about him.
I think he makes it work. He made it work because he's such a good reporter. He
Right.
knows he asks good questions most of the time.
And he's gotten to know the players, and he's literally picked their brains about how hockey works, and he gets it. So it worked out with him. And maybe over time it would have been great with Jim Thomas, but to me, it never really felt like, anything great. So
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
When
Let's get a hockey guy.
when we
in
heard
there.
the press conferences and Jim Thomas was asking questions, it was, Jim Thomas is a great writer and a great football guy. I'm not sure he ever really quite embraced the hockey atmosphere. I mean, he's done it for a while now, but he was never asking the right questions. He never seemed to be asking the questions that a hockey guy would ask after a game. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
it was just like, it's not his fault. It was just
I think it's one of those things that the Post-Dispatch and the Wild just got one back. But the Post-Dispatch probably did a really good thing by putting him on the hockey beat when the Rams, left 5 years before his retirement, and they didn't force him into early retirement, and they give him the Blues gig.
That's a great goal.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brees.
All right, we should probably get back on talking Blues here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went on another media rant.
Yeah. Well, there's some in the postseason interviews, some other eye-opening stuff that was said by Armstrong. He said,
God.
what happened?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Goals keep happening.
Yeah. Minnesota scored again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was talking about. The real nice one. Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're up. They're only down 4-3.
Well, Dallas scored 2 quick ones. Now Minnesota scored 2 quick ones. This is going to be another double overtime game.
Yep.
Oh, God.
All right.
That was nice. Anyway, 2 nice goals back to back. So Armstrong said, we as an organization let our standards slip to what was acceptable in the things that the fans never saw, which was the practice sessions, the preparedness for practice. The guys are going on the ice at 11 o'clock, and I go get coffee at 10:50 to go out and watch, and the guys are doing questionable things to prepare that I've never seen before. It's also our practice habits. There were too many practices where we would not shoot enough. We'd miss the net. We'd overpass it. The next drill would go on, and the same thing would happen. And the next night we'd go 14 to 15 minutes with no shots on net, and we're going, geez, how did that happen? There's bad habits in practice. And to me, and let me know what you guys think about this. I'm confused here. Where are the coaches? If this stuff's happening in practice time and time again, are the coaches not running the practice? Are they not seeing, no, this is not correct. You're overpassing. You're missing the net. Run it again. Get your shots on net. Doing weird things in practice. Why aren't the coaches saying, hey, what are you doing? Let's get back on base here.
I want to know what these questionable things are. Like, he says they're going to get a coffee at 10:50, and then he watches, and guys are doing questionable things to prepare. What are they doing? Like
stuff he's never seen before. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like I don't get. I mean, I imagine that doesn't mean like the soccer ball, which is pretty common by now. But like, you're literally talking about right before they get on the ice. What are they doing? Are they not stretching properly? Like,
well,
I would love an elaboration on that.
I just want to know where this is coaches run practice. Players don't run the practice. So why aren't the coaches? I mean, if their practices are getting, they're going off kilter, and players are developing bad habits, where are the fucking coaches to say, hey, let's get back on track here, focus, this is what we got to be doing? That's their job.
Yeah, like you said, run it again. I can't tell you how many times I heard that damn phrase playing hockey.
No, it's a shitty shot.
High school.
You're overpassing. Run it again. I don't know. I mean,
you three go again. Like, yeah, like, nope. Next group doesn't go. You guys go again. Like that. And again, I know professional hockey, it's, coaching is a little different than what you and I and Bill have seen, but still, it's like there is still some authority there to say, guys, what the fuck are we doing here? Run that shit again. Like,
Right.
Who's got the whistle?
yeah, why isn't that
Who's got the
happening?
whistle?
Right. And I would love to know was this something that he noticed post O'Reilly trade? Right. Did they rely so much on, Ryan O'Reilly for getting, setting the tone for a good practice? Or was this going on long before that? Right.
Yeah.
You wonder where the Herb Brooks part of Craig Berube was if that wasn't happening, right? And maybe Berube's afraid of of losing the room, of screaming too much too often, but make the assistants do it, and if they can't do it, they're not cut out. And well, maybe that's what happened.
Some comments were made about the defense as well, which I think this bears mentioning is that so after this is Rutherford's work in the article in The Athletic, by the way. We're just taking bits and pieces and talking about it.
Yeah, and if you haven't read it, again,
good reads.
For those that aren't on The Athletic, I think they always have a deal going, it seems like. But go to Jeremy's article, sign up. This was a great read. It was pretty much all quotes from Armstrong and Berube.
There's 3 articles.
Very
there's
good
3
read.
articles too that he just released over the past week that talk about the postseason interviews and press conferences and the quotes that he's got from Kyrou, some of the players, Berube and Armstrong, which a little, like I said, kind of shocking, a little eye-opening, some of the stuff that's been going on.
And stay tuned, folks, for over the summer, because we will be having JR on at some time. So we will ask him about these quotes, because a lot of these are very interesting.
Take some notes here. It's like, what kind of habits do the players have? Do you have any insight on that? So a lot of people didn't. They took the comments that Armstrong was making, and he touched on the younger kids, which we'll talk about in a second. But and they kind of didn't notice, I guess, that he did mention the defense, because people are like, "Well, you're picking on Kyrou. What about the defense?" He mentions the defense as a problem. I don't know what else to say about it. So, and quote, our defensive zone coverage, there would be no competitive nature to our practice in front of the net. We would give up scoring opportunities in practice, and it was just acceptance. I believe that bled into our season. Work has to be thought of as enjoyable, not a punishment. I felt this was the first year our group felt work was punishment. And so
he's basically saying the defense was just super lax in practice.
And those bad habits.
What a shock, right? Us who watched 82 games this year of that. What? They were doing the same shit in practice?
So, this is either who they are, or these bad habits in practice have just become, commonplace, and they've carried over into games. So I mean, people are complaining about, picking on Kyrou, picking our leading point scorer, focus on the defense. It was mentioned. What else can you say about it? That's kind of it in a nutshell, right?
Well, and here's the problem, that he can't just come out in this article and just shit on the defense, because he's trying to make trades. He knows that if he comes out and is just like, yeah, our defense sucks, our players are awful, this is fucking terrible, we're not going to win for 10 years because of these guys, he's not going to be making a trade anytime soon. So he's got to kind of straddle the line here. And I hate to, again, with Kyrou, talking about Kyrou or whoever he was talking about with the kids, we just assume it's Kyrou. They're locked up. They ain't going anywhere. So he can say whatever the fuck he wants, because he's trying to light a fire under their asses. With defense, it's I better watch what I say, because I'm trying to move these guys. Plus, they want to leave Mike Van Ryn in good graces and hope he gets another job somewhere else.
It's the NHL, of course he will.
Yeah. Oh, of course, old boys club.
And again,
you've worked in the NHL? Oh. Well, get ready for the next 50 years. You're not going anywhere.
Again, where are the coaches here with these drills? If Armstrong's sitting up in the stands watching practice with his coffee and notices, man, the defense is just allowing scoring chances and they're accepting it, what the fuck? Where are the coaches? They're fired now, but still, it's like, why wasn't this addressed sooner? Maybe it was.
If
but
he's seeing it, you have to assume he's had to say
Had
something to
to.
Berube throughout the year,
But
right?
even
And maybe Berube was like, I can't get Van Ryn and McTavish to do shit. And maybe it was just so late in the year they were like, okay, well, we'll just let him go at the end of the year. We don't know.
This whole thing, complaining about stuff that happens in practice and then spills over into games, it's like that is 100% all coaching. I mean, yeah, okay. Players are gonna, maybe you give them an inch, you're gonna take a mile. Some of them, we don't have to work hard in practice. I'm not gonna. But it's on the coaches. It's 100%. So, and again, they've been fired. So we'll, except for Ott. So we'll see, and the goaltender coach. So which I don't think was a problem this season. I have no gripes with any of that, really.
No, I think they address the problem areas. Yeah. And now if you go in the next year and all of a sudden the goaltending crumbles or the offense is struggling more than we thought they might, then maybe you move Alexander and Ott. But I think they said this year, for the most part, it was defense and special teams that really let us down. And so that we just got to let those two guys go.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they start the season as poorly as they played at times this year, that even Berube's got to be questioned at that point.
Oh yeah.
So not just Ott and Alexander, but Berube too. So that
I agree.
I mean, I'm excited that he's casting this, going to cast this wide net when he's looking for the replacement coaches. The retreads, just at least what we've gotten haven't worked. And thank God Ken Hitchcock is officially formally retired. Because I'll tell you, the comments he made, his summer project trying to get to understand the younger kids, right? That was something straight out of Ken Hitchcock's book, right? During the TJ Oshie days, man, how many quotes did we hear from Hitchcock about that? And I think it's great. I think, Armstrong, looks up to Hitchcock, even though, he was his boss. Armstrong was Hitchcock's boss. But he had a lot of respect for him and, is trying to take page out of that book. And let's hope he gets it right.
Comments were made about Kyrou and the younger players. Doug Armstrong and head coach Craig Berube all reaffirmed that Kyrou has a lot of learning to do this summer. Armstrong said they'll play 18 minutes in a game to get an 18-second shift that can go on YouTube and get 1 million likes and think that this was a good night. I have to understand what makes them think like that and how we can say, you can have that, but you can also give us this. Kyrou wasn't
more goals, by the way, in this Dallas Minnesota game.
Know.
2 more goals.
6-3 now.
2 more goals in 30 seconds.
They're coming. Like I look down and they score. Ugh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I love it. Fuck you, Minnesota. Go Stars.
Oh, no. Go Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Fuck no.
Yeah. I can't root for Dallas.
You can't root for Minnesota.
I can't root for either of them. I got to pick one.
I picked Dallas.
I don't like Dallas. I don't.
Okay.
So
back to this.
So Kyrou wasn't mentioned specifically by name, but it was rather obvious who he was talking about. Kyrou was asked by reporters what he learned about himself and the team this season. Kyrou said, in general, overall, it wasn't really a great season for any of us. When asked specifically to evaluate himself, Kyrou replied, like I said, we weren't really good as a team this year, and that's all that really matters is how the team does. So, yeah, next year I want to be better, obviously, for the team because I want to be better as a group. You want to get better in all areas of your game. For me, I want to try and get that consistency with playing harder on the puck and maybe being a lot better defensively in certain areas. Ding, 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 ding. I think it's just playing more and getting more experience. And hopefully that's the case. Just playing more, understanding, getting better at your defensive responsibilities. But again, talk is cheap with this. This reminds me of the kind of thing when players talk like this, when something is obviously wrong with their game. Now, granted, I'm going to say this. Kyrou, fantastic offensive talent, led the team in scoring, almost a 40-goal scorer. He could, he could have had a lot more points on offense if he was just more decisive, it seemed like. But he has a hole in his game. It's a gaping hole in his game that can make him a better all-around player, a better team player, and that's being more defensively responsible. And then Armstrong talked about, as soon as a turnover happens, right, how turnovers are going to happen. He doesn't really care about the turnovers that much in the offensive zone. It's how a player reacts after the turnover is made. What do you do? Do you sit there and sulk for a few seconds and not immediately start back checking, which is what you should be doing?
Yeah.
And Kyrou was one of those guys where he turned the puck over and then he didn't get back. And it's
it was infuriating. And Bill, I think I actually made this comment to you. It might have been to both of you. I don't know, but actually, it might have been when we were at the Vancouver game. Have you ever seen a 70-point scorer who you just do not trust with the puck? And to me, that's fucking Jordan Kyrou. Yeah. Man, I do not want to completely shit on Kyrou. That's like the fun thing to do for Blues fans on social media right now. I've actually come around a little bit. If you listened to early this season, I was asking for him to be benched with how bad he was playing. So I've come around a little bit and said, okay. And again, I think I said this last week. I just asked for you to be semi-passable as a defensive player. I don't expect you to make great defensive plays that lead to 2-on-1s for your teammates. I expect you to be a part of those 2-on-1s. So I don't expect him to make the great defensive play. I just ask him to basically be there, follow the structure of the team. But man, for me, the biggest issue, and you kind of said it there, Kurt, isn't just like he'll carry the puck in or somebody will feed him a pass and he'll skate to the corner and he'll just one guy will get on him and he just loses it instantly. And it's just, do you have, and then the guy skates the other way and Kyrou's dogging behind. And it's like, do you have any strength on the puck at all to where you can like go into a board battle and come out with it? And if you don't, do you have any fucking hustle and heart in your game to get back and get that fucking puck back? Guess what, kid? You won fastest skater in the NHL. You can clearly keep up with these guys. Lose the puck, get it back. And he doesn't do that. And that to me is the most infuriating part of his game. Again, I have come around a little bit defensively.
Well,
but man, the hustle is lacking sometimes, and that drives me fucking crazy.
There are two factions of fans, two big factions when it comes to Kyrou. There's the group that wants to rip him a new one for his defensive play and want him traded, right? And there's the other group that wants to give him a complete pass on his defensive shortcomings because he scored, was it 37 goals this season, and led the team in scoring. Both of them dead wrong. Both of them. He's not going to get benched because he's the team leading scorer, but he's got to be more defensively responsible. He's got to be criticized for that because it's a glaring hole in his game. And like you said, Jeff, you wanted to bench him. It was so obvious early in the season. The only reason it became less of a talking point as the season went on was because his offense ramped up. He was still the same defensively responsible person that he was early in the season, but he was putting up points after that. So it was, if you put up a ton of points, the only way I'm going to give Kyrou a complete pass on his defensive shortcomings is if he gets 100 points. If he's a 100-point guy, I'm like, you know what? 100 points. I
still don't give him a complete pass.
I'm still going to get mad at him, but I'm not going to call for his benching. I'm not going to say, well, you know what? He's a 100-point guy. He's got to be out there. He's got to be playing.
I'm past that. I'll admit I've moved past it in the benching thing. I will say though, even if you're a 100-point guy, you still got to come back in the zone and at least pick a man up.
I agree.
Connor McDavid's 150 point scorer, and he does that.
No, there are some.
You can do it too, Kyrou.
There are great goal scorers in this league, guys that put up a lot of points that also are responsible defensively.
No. What worries me about Kyrou is that just the maturity level. I don't think it's there yet. I think his comments were his cheap talk, right? Cheap words that you can throw out, cliche shit. Not happy with the way the entire team was. I want to see him. I said last week, I thought this was the summer that he needs to double down and actually put the work in, right? Go to work with some defensive skills coaches, or hell, even hands coaches. Figure out how to take better passes. How many times did he get a pass you just couldn't hold on to? Right? There are all parts of his game that can get worked on. I just worry that he doesn't have the maturity to try to work through it this summer. I think he's still, he's young, he's uber rich, and he's, until I feel that vibe that he gets that end of it, that it's a maturity thing, right? I think Thomas, I was in the same boat with him last year. I thought he came around quite a bit this year, right? He got to the point that, I don't think it's a stretch for him to wear an A. Kyrou, never going to wear an A on this team.
Not a chance.
Never.
He's got to move mountains with his attitude and his performance on the ice. As far as being a responsible player, he puts up points. He'll have a long career just doing what he's doing right now, but he's not going to get to that elite level. As a sought after player. And Bill, you mentioned talk is cheap. This kind of like a player talking about what he's doing wrong, what he needs to fix. I always think back to Chris Stewart and how he got off to that great start with us, and then he struggled so bad for so long. And he was asked about it a number of times. He'd say, "Yeah, I know. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to be better at this and be better at that." And he never did. He never did what he said he was going to do, and he was eventually gone. So
another guy that wore 25. What is it about that number?
That's interesting. Yeah, him and Sean Podine. Was it Sean Podine or 25?
Yeah, he was 25.
And Pascal Rayom.
Pascal Rayom.
So one of the Russians did too.
Oh,
Prokhorov?
Prokhorov. I think it's Prokhorov.
Yeah.
The guy that was supposed to be the best.
Kramnov was 17, I believe.
Kramnov was 12.
Yeah.
12.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's Prokhorov.
Yeah.
So anyway, just when players talk like that, until they back up their words with actions, it's always going to be Chris Stewart to me, because you can say all the things in the world, you can say the right things now, but you gotta make good on it. You got to come through.
I will say that to make when they this comparison, which you're actually spot on with that. At least when Kyrou quote unquote disappears, he might still have a goal that game. Like Stewart, when that dude, he would disappear for 12 games at a time without a point. And it's like, dude, what the hell happened to you? You were just lighting up the score sheet.
He's up there with one of my most hated Blues players of all time. Just because I loved him when we first got him, because he was producing. He was like, oh my God, he's on fire.
I remember a sick OT goal he scored, backhand roof on Columbus, like 5 games after we got him. And I'm like, oh my God, this dude's the real deal.
Yeah.
And right, Kurt, there's a certain Blues defenseman that I used to say this about, but it's the fact that he had the talent. You could tell he had the talent. He just didn't have the drive to do it all the time.
We'll have some more hockey talk, including Berube's comments about some of the team, mostly Kyrou. On the other side of this break from our amazing sponsors, you're listening to Kurt, Bill, and Jeff on Let's Go Blues Radio.
We'll return after these messages.
Every beer league hockey night, I grab my hockey bag and sticks and throw them in the trunk of my car, and the very next thing I do, I mix up a boost of energy courtesy of RockinThatIDLife.com. It's formulated to break up its delivery in 3 ways, which helps me get through all 3 periods of hockey. Phase 1 provides a rapid onset of energy, concentration, alertness, and motivation. By period 2, I'm receiving a dose of sustained energy, increased focus, metabolism, cognitive function, performance, and feelings of well-being, which I need with the way I play. In Phase 3, I'm getting fatigue protection without jitters and crash, an elevated mood, and a reduction of fluid retention to help me make the big play when it counts. This same triphasic approach helps me when I drink it during work hours or simply just for a pick-me-up when I need it. Try one of the 4 energy flavors by visiting RockinThatIDLife.com, but make sure to email Dustin at RockinThatIDLife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you to receive an additional 10% off your order. That's RockinThatIDLife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a beer lover's dream for hockey fans. Based in St. Louis, Missouri, owner Steve Albers has been brewing hockey-themed favorites for thirsty sports fans since 2017. From the Beauty IPA to the Old Arena Lager, a cold, frosty, hockey-themed beer is just what the doctor ordered for hockey fans in St. Louis. Make sure to check your local beer store for Center Ice Brewery beer today. LGB. Let's go beer.
During the magical 2019 playoff run, I was in the midst of buying my current home. Every time I spoke with my realtor, obviously, home buying was the discussion. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking about what was destined to happen for our St. Louis hockey team. If only there were a realtor who could have walked me through the process, held my hand when needed, but was there to be a sounding board when I wanted to complain about a certain hand pass goal. Let realtor Mike Burgoyne with Rio Brokerage be that for you. He'll have your needs top of mind as he skates you through the home buying or selling process, dangling you past any obstacles and assisting on all your home goals. Check out strikewithmike.com for more information or give him a call directly at 314-753-4060. That's Mike Burgoyne with Rio Brokerage at strikewithmike.com, and that number again is 314-753-4060. Don't forget to tell Mike that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
So coming out of break, we do want to mention another sponsor of ours that we've absolutely loved having on board this season, Mike Burgoyne with strikewithmike.com. Please remember that, folks. For if you're buying or selling a house, or you know somebody who is, Mike has been an excellent sponsor for the show. And again, I'm just lucky. I've got all these fucking cool dudes in my life with Dustin Paul and Mike Burgoyne, a guy that I've played hockey with for a long time. Just again, a great guy too. He's also a cop, so clearly he knows the area. And he's looking out for people, and he does that as a realtor too. He's always looking out for you and has your best needs in mind. Again, I did not have him when I bought my house. I know in my commercial I mentioned it. I wish I did, because man, I was buying my house in 2019, and if I would have had someone like Mike to just shoot the shit with, talk hockey.
I was gonna say that I wasn't back when I sold my house back in 2000 and I believe it was 17. I didn't have Mike. Didn't know. I don't know if Mike was actually being a realtor back then. But anyway, I was not happy with my realtor because I was in a situation where I I had a contract down on a new house, and I already had my house for sale. So, and a house came up that I really wanted, the house I'm in now, and in the school district I wanted, in the neighborhood I wanted. And so I was like, I got to put a contract down on this house, even though my house isn't sold. So I had a contingency contract on this house, and sell my other house. Then this one goes through, and they gave me 2 months. And I feel like my realtor was taken advantage of by other realtors because they knew this, so they played hardball, and I don't think my realtor played hardball back, with them. And I think that probably got screwed out of I don't know, $20,000 or so that I could have had extra in this house, just because I'm like, because she was doing the discussions, and she was perfectly a nice lady, but I don't think she was. The other people had a which sometimes you want an asshole as a realtor, right? If you're negotiating, and they had a guy who was
and I'm telling you, Mike's not an asshole, but Mike is a badass.
a tough guy.
He's a guy, and again, I have seen him on the rink, and I know it's how he carries himself as a police officer too. He is the guy who is gonna make sure nobody's getting hurt, make sure nobody's getting in trouble, and he's gonna be the guy that steps in for his teammates. And again, I know he does that for all of his clients. Great job, Mike Burgoyne. He's had an excellent year from what I've seen. He's won a bunch of awards for how well he's doing. So again, strikewithmike.com. Check that out. My friend, Mike Burgoyne. Couldn't be happier to have him as a part of the show this season. And just best of luck to him. And again, one of the best people that I know, hockey player, will shoot the shit with you, but get the work done as well.
Yeah. And I wish I had him back in 17, because I felt like I had to sell, and the other realtor knew that, and so I kind of had to come down more than I was comfortable with, but I did it anyway because I wanted this house. So anyway, Armstrong is we didn't cover what Berube said. There we go. Berube in the post-season interviews and press conferences was more blunt about Kyrou and the team play. He says, for me, if you want to be a real good team and you want to have an opportunity to win, you have to sacrifice as an offensive player sometimes. You've got to do the other things out on the ice that shows the sacrifice to your teammates. It might hurt you stat-wise with points a little bit, but what's more important is winning. And if we want to be a championship team and we want to get in the playoffs next year, they've got to make sacrifices that way. Now I think that those comments are going to be, they'll interpret that. Some people will as Berube stifling a younger player's creativity to be more defensive, kind of like a Hitchcock they had a MO of doing to some degree. But I don't think that's really the case. I think that's not really a fair comment in this case. I think Berube is all for offensively talented players doing their thing. He just wants them also to be defensively responsible, which is a problem, obviously.
Right. It's about him rounding out, maturing, getting both ends of the game going. Right. And I think we made this point again, so keep it brief, but Nathan McKinnon had a knock on him as, not being a two-way player. And now he's like the most dedicated person to the lifestyle in the NHL. If we could get a little bit of that in Kyrou, I think it would go a long way.
He eats a lot of kale.
Right.
Kale McCarr.
Right.
Yeah, well,
I bet he mows his lawn.
Yeah, McKinnon mows McCarr's kale. And Berube has addressed that before about, people being critical of him, saying that he doesn't want young kids to be creative, and he wants them to sacrifice their stats for defensive play. And he is like, that's not really true. I want players to be creative and to produce offensively, but they also have to get back. You got to get back. You got to play defense.
People forget the style this team ran with last year. They got him 107 points, 109 points. Like, they were run and gun offense. It was basically free for all for the forwards.
You know what?
Like, I don't get why people think that. Like, look, even at the start of this year, that's how they play.
Because Berube's a tough guy. He was a tough guy in the NHL. He's like, he's not an offensive minded guy. He's more of a brawler. And I'm like, and that's just that's who he is as a coach. I don't think he's ever been that way. I just think
say the Blues had what, 5 fights this year?
Yeah, I don't think his obviously, they've got some young talents and two of the most creative players in the league in Thomas and Kyrou. You don't want to stifle that, but you want them to be defensively responsible. And that may, their stats may suffer a little if they're hustling to get back, if they're not cherry picking, if they're playing more of a role around the game. But the team's going to probably win more games that way, and they're still going to put up their points. I don't think it's going to be a problem getting points for them. I think they could both be 100-point players. If they played a really good team game and if they had a good defense behind them, we could have 3 100-point players next season in Buchnevich, Thomas, and Kyrou. It's possible. But this team has to make leaps and bounds, because you got to keep the puck out of your net. You got to have a good transition game out of your own zone, and you got to have the offense that's not turning the puck over in the offensive zone, and making the right decisions with the puck, which has been a problem. So they got a long ways to go. I'm saying but the talent is there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but in the right situation, those 3 guys can put up 100 points.
Buchnevich has got to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's true, and not get suspended. Yeah. He's been suspended the best.
Yeah, don't headbutt people.
This was addressed in Rutherford's article. Did the big very, very briefly, but it was discussed earlier this year too. Did the big contract play into how Kyrou played? The Athletic reported early this season that teammates were frustrated that Kyrou had gotten the big payday before really proving himself. I think only Kyrou knows the answer. If the big contract affected how he plays,
I'm going to say no, because I don't think it really changed from last year.
Yeah, probably not. I think it's always been.
He looked like the same player to me. And to me, that was the problem, was that I didn't see him develop too much from last year.
The first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, remember, he was god awful at both ends of the ice.
Oh, he was.
He couldn't do anything. He wasn't putting up points. So I think that's when he got the contract, and now the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season he looks awful. I think that's where that conversation came from, because he wasn't doing anything.
He was awful. He couldn't even score a goal.
And that's when you were saying bench him. And I was like,
if he's not going to score, because my point was, if he's not going to score goals, what the fuck is he doing for you?
And I was like, well, he could score goals. And we had a nice little back and forth.
Yes, we did.
And I don't think either of us were wrong.
No, I
agree.
agree.
The truth. I think you were right and I was right. That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that we're so right.
Right.
Bill was the most right, though.
Yeah, because he didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, so he was clearly right.
He was like, let's move on.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, you two.
It's getting late, boys. It's getting late.
Yeah, I don't know. Did it play into it? I don't know. But to me, we heard that there was rumors are that it was O'Reilly and Tarasenko that had said something to him on separate occasions, like, dude, you're getting paid like a big boy now. Let's see it. And I don't know. I think he played fine. It's weird to say that again, 70-point score. Yeah, he played fine. But yeah, we do need to see that next step. I thought it would happen this year. I still didn't see it. We'll see what happens next year, because now he is clearly going into the season as an offensive leader. There's no O'Reilly, no Tarasenko, not even a Barbashev. So you are the guy going into next year. So it depends on what he does this summer. And
it's been addressed publicly, and he has addressed it publicly here after the season in the postseason press conference about how he himself said he needs to be better defensively. So whether or not he believes that or not is irrelevant. It's out there. So clock's ticking on how long it takes him to get there. With his defensive play. I don't understand anybody who says, well, you give him a free pass, he puts up a lot of points. Bullshit. Last year's playoffs were a perfect example. I mean, we won that game, but half-assing it when McKinnon blows by you, right? To score that goal in that playoff game.
What should honestly have been the series clinching goal.
It should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been.
Yeah, if not for very late heroics.
Yep. So
but number 21, Patrick Berglund. No, wait, I'm sorry. Tyler Bozak.
Molly Bozak.
Yeah. It was our margaritas that did it.
Exactly.
So Armstrong talked about being disconnected. He said, I said to some of the veteran players that this is the most disconnected I've felt with the largest part of our organization, our players. Craig Berube and I had to spend the summer talking to professional people that know what these players go through and what makes them tick. To me, man, that's not something you want to hear out of the GM that's putting this team together, that doesn't understand the mindset of a lot of the younger players. And I'm like, fuck.
I'm gonna mow someone else's lawn here, so I'm gonna mow yours, Kurt. He says, this is in your notes.
Yeah.
Blues do have a team psychologist on staff, Scott McFadden, but he says he wants to help find more help outside of the organization who specializes in this matter. To me, and I know that, you could go couple different routes here, but to me, that's a young coach. You go and get a juniors coach who knows how players are ticking nowadays, how he gets them to work. You look at the teams up in Canada that have had success the past couple of years. Look at those coaches. Get some new faces in here, and then, you get someone to replace McTavish, who's maybe a little more offensive-minded, but again, a young coach, up-and-comer. Go get a defensive coach who, again, can maybe just implement a new style that these veterans on D have never really played before. And maybe we just figure out how to get these guys to play together. I think that is the key here. And to me, this is Armstrong alluding to that's what he's going to be looking at the most.
What they need is a young Tito Landrum. That's what they need.
No, I think they, if they're going to target somebody young, it's got to be for the forwards, because the D, right, average age of the D is 30 at this point.
It's
so
up there. It's up there.
Perunovic is the young defenseman. If he stays healthy, he'll be on this team. But I think you got to bring somebody in with a different mindset. But I don't necessarily think you got to, bring in somebody who's going to, shift the way that the defensemen think about life, right? You just got to bring in a better structure, right? And I think it probably starts with blocking more shots.
Yeah.
Which is
well,
interesting.
Bill, you know who's available? We can get him out of retirement. We talked about him already. Ken Hitchcock.
Who's our best shot blocker? Who's our best shot blocker?
Bortuzzo.
Right.
And foreshadowing for later in the show, Rutherford has him as all but gone next season.
Yeah.
So
I think it's an easy contract to move. It makes sense.
Well, you know what though? I'm with Bill. Shot blocking is lacking, and if he's your best shot blocker, I have no problem with moving any player, but it's who you replace him with. If you want to bring in a better one, great. But if you're not going to bring in a guy who's going to, I just don't know who's going to be blocking shots.
Nobody on this roster.
Right.
You got to go out and get outside help, and I think that's what's going to happen. You'll see Bortuzzo moved possibly, and you get somebody who's a higher quality defenseman that can block shots as well.
But you also
who that is, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
You also have to bring in, replacing one of these, one of the forwards, either Pitlick or Levo. If you're going to bring in a journeyman, it's got to be a defensive shot blocking specialist. I don't know, somebody like an Oscar Sundqvist.
That would be. I'll admit, man, that is a thought that has come to my head since I've been watching the Wild a little bit more, and I'm like, he's affordable. A good third line guy. He's a veteran at this point. Yeah, still lives here.
Still gets Urban Chestnut delivered.
Yes, he does.
That's right, he does. He is making $2.75 million right now, and so he's probably going to get a raise. So he'll make it over 3.
He's the type of player every team wants.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but because I normally don't think this, but with the fact that he fell in love with St. Louis and he still lives here, do you think he takes a 1 or 2 year deal at that same price to come back here?
He's 29. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question, because it depends on the individual player. It's like everybody's different. I don't
think he takes a cut, but I wonder if he would take the same price to come back here.
I almost wonder. I mean, would you want the Blues to sign him for $3 million? We'll talk about salary cap a little later on. We only have like 4+ to spend.
I think if you go get a
without
Sundqvist,
moving,
without
one of
moving,
those
yeah,
guys.
Without moving.
if we don't move somebody, right? So,
yeah, I think if you can get him, I would. But again, unless you don't make another move,
is that how you spend your money?
That's where your money's going. Like that's where the majority of your money's going this summer. Then
that's what I'm saying. So that's your guy that you're getting this summer, unless you move somebody, which they got to try to. They have to. You got to try.
I know we've said this for an exhaustion now for all year, but they have got to move one of those defensive contracts. There's no way to improve via, and he said it, that basically they're not going to be players in free agency as of right now, which I don't blame them. So if you want to be active at all in the trade market or free agency, you have got to unload one of those contracts because you just don't have that much wiggle room.
Armstrong also said, I have to ask them, what do I need to do to give them the best chance for success? Because I don't believe I'm doing that right now, because I don't believe I understand what they're going through. Talking about young players. I don't get it anymore, and it's my job to get it or get out. It's a good summer project for an old man. And that's, you know what? It's almost like that's, for the first time, I'm like, man, and it could have been just a off-the-cuff comment that didn't mean anything. But it's like, wow, I mean, maybe he sees the end of the tunnel for him as a GM if he doesn't understand young players and can't understand young players after this. If he doesn't learn anything this offseason, then what?
He's a big talker. And I'm not, that's not a bad thing. I know typically people say that and they're like, well, he doesn't follow through on actions. He does. But he says these big comments, and then he does typically follow it up with something big. And so I do feel like when he says this, he's serious. Like, yeah, this summer I'm going to learn what are, players that I grew up with and players that I've managed now for years and years in Dallas and St. Louis. It ain't cutting it anymore. These guys are motivated by something else, and I'm not understanding what that is. And I'll admit, as a 37-year-old, I know you guys agree, I don't fucking understand kids these days either. I work with a couple interns and I'm just like, what are you doing this weekend? That's a thing? Like, I get it, man. So I love that he's able to call that out and see it.
Yeah, it's his Kyrou comment about YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows who that was directed at. It wasn't directed at, nobody was named, but everybody knows it was directed at Kyrou, right? It's like, you'd almost like to think we should tell him just download TikTok and spend your entire summer on that. Then maybe you'll get an idea what kids think. But he might not have that opportunity much longer.
We'll see. Armstrong also said, referencing the captaincy next season, Armstrong isn't so sure the Blues will put a C on a player next season. He says he'll consult with Berube along with his management staff and a pair of retired players, Barrett Jackman and David Backes. He said, and I quote, "It's something I thought about when Alex Pietrangelo left. What is the role of a captain, and is the role of a captain in the sport anymore? I don't know if there is. I think you have such a group dynamic and everything else guys deal with. I don't know if you need a C or if you need multiple A's to pull a team together. I think that if you're a leader, you don't need a C. You're going to do that with your actions. I haven't decided if the Blues will have a captain, but I'm saying there's a possibility there couldn't be. I guarantee we won't be announcing one in the next few months." Is he overthinking the whole captaincy thing? My God.
I think so. Because my thought here is Braden Chud's like, what the fuck?
I know.
Well, my point is, to me, the GM should not be weighing in on this.
I agree.
It's not, the GM's not in the fucking room.
Let the players
It's the
vote.
players and the coaches that should make this decision.
Players and coaches vote, right? Exactly.
So if the players, I mean, I don't know, maybe you hold two votes and say, do we want a captain, A? And then we say, okay, you guys do. Who should it be? Like, you don't, this isn't a GM. Oh, I don't know. Do we need a captain? You're not in the room as much, man. This isn't your call.
He's a
There were
very
21
hands-on
votes
GM guy.
for Braden Shen and 1 for Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah. Right. He's a very
you think that
hands-on
if Jordan
GM.
Kyrou gets a vote, it's on a piece of paper, and Berube sees it? Nope, that's not going to happen. Just throws it out. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Jordan must have written that.
Right, exactly. Nice joke there, Jordan.
I think Armstrong's one of the more hands-on GMs in the NHL as far as lineup decisions. Right.
Right.
He's in on all that stuff.
I agree, but still, to me, this is a closed door.
No, I agree.
Coaches and coaches and players.
I agree, and he's completely overthinking the captaincy. A team needs a captain to lead by example, on the ice, off the ice, whatever, and it says the right things in the press conference. And there is nobody on this team that comes close, in my opinion, to Braden Shen being the captain. It's like Braden Shen, and then probably 3 or 4 other guys way down the list, and then there's a bunch, and there's everybody else. It's not even close to me. Braden Shen, if it's not Braden Shen, who the fuck is it? Falk? Maybe, but
Parayko.
I mean, Falk is maybe second in line, but he's not. Braden Shen is such an obvious choice here. Yeah, I don't understand.
Again, unless you do bring back a Ryan O'Reilly.
Maybe,
but to me, if you bring back O'Reilly, to me, you got to give him the captaincy back, right? Wouldn't that just feel weird? Well, O'Reilly's back, but he's not even an A. No, that would be odd.
I would imagine the players would vote O'Reilly the captain.
Right.
I mean, so that it wouldn't be an issue, I don't think.
Did he get his captaincy taken away from him in Buffalo, or not? It wasn't taken away from him. It's like, you know what? We don't need you to be the captain anymore.
Was he ever captain? I thought he was just an A.
I thought he was. I don't know.
Maybe
because
you're right.
I thought I remember an interview with him where it was kind of a relief.
I hate the way teams
could be
handle
making that up.
The captaincy sometimes. Like if a player retires, we're not going to have a captain next season out of respect to so and so, Dallas Drake. I'm like, come on,
right?
Name a fucking captain. What the fuck?
According to the Sabres website, O'Reilly was never a captain.
Okay,
so maybe he was alternate captaincy.
I'm just making that shit up then.
The Blues do have the 10th overall pick in the draft lottery. They also have 2 other first-round picks, and we'll know what slot they'll be for those 2 picks after the Rangers and Maple Leafs are finished in the playoffs. The sooner they are bounced, the better our picks will be. Armstrong sees himself holding on to the number 10 pick, he says, but the other 2 are up for debate. Armstrong says he's looking for 26, 27-year-old players with at least 3 years of term. So, yeah, he's willing to trade, move up. Who knows? I mean, he's a very aggressive GM. So
I like how he said Armstrong sees him. He said something along the lines of he's going to walk up and make that pick at number 10 or whatever number it is.
Yeah.
But the other 2 are up for debate. Yeah, if you can find a way to move up, you're trading that number 10.
Oh, moving up. I don't think he. I think the impression he gave was trading it away completely and not, for a player.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but his wording still, I'm just,
yes.
Or if it comes up like, not saying that there's ever this anyway, it was happen. If Cale Makar is on the table for the number 10 pick, you're trading that away for Cale Makar.
It'd be a pretty headline making move to move up in the top 10 in this year's draft.
Right.
Especially this year's draft. So
I just think back to when John Davidson said that TJ Oshie was untouchable. And I'm like, okay, guy. Yep, that's the player you're gonna say is untouchable. Nothing against TJ Oshie, but untouchable to me.
I
think it means a little different to me than what it does to John Davidson.
Like how Dylan Carlson was untouchable for the Cardinals last year at the deadline when Soto was available.
Mm-hmm.
We're not giving up Carlson. He's untouchable. So fuck that.
Oh, well, now he's not even starting every day.
I know. Cardinals are tripping over themselves.
They are.
Moving a defenseman? Question mark.
Kurt.
Yes.
Kurt, we're trying to get in touch with you with the private chat.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We need
Okay.
to move forward. Bill's going to take off, so he wants to
Yeah.
do the
Gotcha.
picks thing.
All right. So we've got some picks that we made. We're not grading each player, but we're gonna do something a little different. We got team MVP, most disappointing player, most surprising player in a good way, best in-season acquisition. If you could pick one player to have a career year next season, who would that be? Playoff matchup to watch and off-season predictions. So, Bill, would you like to go first in your list?
I would. Are we going to alternate this, or me give my list entirely?
I say
and
we
then-
do each. We just do each selection, and then we go through.
Okay, let's do
And by the way, Bill, I would have laughed. You could have been like, "Oh no, I'm not ready."
that.
Well,
right.
I'm not ready.
All right.
All right, so Bill, you'll start. Who's our team MVP?
Team MVP for me was probably Schnevich. Had he been healthier, I think this is a playoff team.
Ooh.
For me, I'm gonna go Jordan Binnington. And again, I know there's a lot of hate with this pick. I think Rutherford even picked him as the MVP. Most of the media did.
He did.
Which tells me something. Guys that definitely watched every game. Yeah.
Wait. You tell me you got to watch the games to make these picks? What?
Yeah, watch the games, then tell me that Jordan Binnington isn't at least considered for your MVP.
Who watches the
again,
games?
the terrible defensive play in front of him. Yes, he had some rough outings. There was a road trip with Pittsburgh and the Rangers. I remember he was bad. He was bad there for a stretch after the Minnesota game, the blow up there at the end of the season. There was a couple games after that I thought he was bad. But overall, he had a great year.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what he brings to the team next year.
I'm with you.
He was my number 2 pick for MVP.
I've got the same Binnington. Every goal is going to have some bad starts on a bad stretch or 2 or 3 in the season. It's fine. I think the vast majority of the nights he was more than good enough for this team to win had they played good hockey in front of him, and they just didn't on most nights. And he was hung out to dry so often. So many backdoor tap-in passes. If you watch the fucking games and knew what to fucking look for in a goaltender, you'd know that Binnington had a decent season, a good season, and his numbers look like shit because of it. You can throw out your advanced stats all you want. I don't care. I watched the games. I saw him play.
Side note, as a guy that plays a lot of beer league and plays in tournaments and stuff, it's so funny how in every locker room that I've ever been in since Binnington's come on this team, it's me saying this defense sucks. Jordan Binnington's great. Others, no, he's not that good. The one guy that always comes to my defense, who do you think it is?
The goalie.
The fucking goalie. Yeah, guys, watch the defense out there and tell me Jordan Binnington's not great. Every locker room I've ever been in, the goalie is on my side.
All right. Most disappointing player, Bill.
Most disappointing player. To me, I think I almost want to say Jordan Kyrou because I thought he could have done a lot more, but I'm not going to just because we've said his name so much tonight. I'm going to go with Nick Leddy.
Okay.
We signed him, signed him to solidify the defense, and it was wasted money.
There's probably a number of people that you could pick on this roster for most disappointing player.
That is a great pick, though.
Really,
I actually didn't even consider him.
It really is.
Yeah, he was, man. He was. Again, I didn't think he was going to be great, but I thought he will be at least serviceable and good enough. I think he was fucking garbage.
Yeah, he
looked like a forward stuck on defense.
Yeah, he had no chemistry with anybody he played with. Always seemed to be turning the wrong way. And how many own goals did he have this year? Led the league, I'm sure.
Well, my pick was the partner for much of the season, Colton Parayko. I just feel like I mean, listen to the shows this year. You'll hear us bitch about him plenty. We expected him to take that next step last year. Okay, injuries, we get it. Okay, take the summer off. You got bounced in the second round, plenty of time to rest up. At this point, I'm debating whether it's injuries. He did have a couple nice stretches, especially after the trades. But overall,
yeah,
not a good season for Colton Parayko.
I had Parayko as my pick here, but I figured it's kind of like I don't know. Like I knew somebody else would have him, so I want to do something a little different. I want O'Reilly because I thought he was garbage offensively, almost the entire season. And he was a minus infinity, and had single-digit assists late in the season, before the trade deadline. So his production was abysmal, and I think as a leader, he could have been a lot better in that regard. And he spoke about that when he was here. And he might not be the most disappointing player in my mind, but I wanted to go something a little different than you guys might have.
That's a good pick. He was bad. Oh, to start the year, he was awful.
Yeah, and expectations were high, much higher for him than he reached here. So.
And we are getting some comments that were flashing up on the screen here, but podcasters, we got a couple people. Team MVP, Buchnevich, 2 people picked him. Ken Morris, the team that gave Bennington the most trouble was the Blues. Lawrence Frazier, most disappointing player, Nick Leddy. We signed him over keeping David Perron. Enough said. Yeah, please, as we go through this quick list here and give our little explanations, please let us know your picks for this as well.
Yep. Okay, we got next here.
Most surprising player.
Most
and
surprising.
That's in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Most surprising player in a good way.
Most surprising player in a good way. I'm going to go with Sammy Blais. I didn't expect him to be a Blue, for one, but after going 52 games in New York without a goal, coming here and almost getting 10, amazing. He was kind of the silver lining to the season for me. If there is a happy story for this team, that's it.
Yeah, my pick is also Blais, but because of every reason you said, just loved seeing him back. And Bill, I think you made the comment that if you get a jersey next year, it's going to be a Blais, and I'm with you.
Yeah,
I would say wait, because maybe he switches back to 9.
Yeah,
pretty sure he's going to.
Yeah, but I would wait and make sure, just to be sure. But I'll throw out an honorable mention for me, and I know he didn't play a lot. Joel Hofer stepping up and playing great for the Blues. I mean, he had a couple bad outings, but it's also because the defense is awful. But for the most part, he looked great. If there's a capable defense in front of him, I think he proved that he can be a quality NHL backup or even 1B behind Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to him in that role next year.
I had a few different players in this. I wanted to go off the board a little bit. I went Josh Levo because he spent a lot of time on the top line this season. Well, early on in the season anyway. It was the only guy that seemed to click with O'Reilly for a long while, and actually got O'Reilly going a little bit. I had no expectations for him this season whatsoever. And him being a top line player for a while was quite surprising to me. And so, yeah, he's my pick.
Rupe Hintz, hat trick.
Ooh.
7-3.
Rope Hintz, is it not?
Rupee? It's Rupee, right?
Rope.
Whatever.
All right, let's all just say it differently.
Not going to work here.
Bill's
Not
going
gonna work
Rupe,
anymore.
I'm going Rope, you're going Rupee.
All right, best in-season acquisition. Bill.
I wasted Sammy Blais on the last one. Vrana. I mean, seriously, off the garbage heap.
Yep.
I mean, you can make an argument for Vrana or Kapanen, but I think most excited about Vrana. He played hockey. There were several Ted Lasso comments in the chat that we didn't cover. People calling out the Blues need Zava and whatnot, but he plays in like Danny plays it with joy, right? He seemed to play a very he seemed very energized by his time here. Got a lot of enjoyment out of scoring goals, and that's what this team needs. So
I will again, Vrana is my pick as well, for all the same reasons Bill said. Kapanen was good, but I think Ron Hextall's done as a GM in the NHL, and if he's not, holy shit, NHL, get your shit together. Kapanen is good enough for what he's paid, but I will say I could see some issues throughout his game in the time he was here that I'm like, okay, I can see how he fell out of favor. But waivers, I would never have put that dude on waivers. He was fine. So I will say best in-season acquisitions since Bill already said Verana, I'll just say the draft picks. Getting such high quality for UFAs and Zach Dean, a dude who turned it on fucking like a monster at the end of his season for Barbashev. Great trading by Armstrong. We'll see what turns out with these picks, but just really made this offseason exciting for Blues fans.
I have Verana, and I'll just, for all the reasons that Bill said, but I'll add that also because Detroit's playing half his salary next season. So that makes it extra sweet.
True.
If you could pick one player to have a career year next season, who would that be? Bill.
For me, it would be Colton Parayko. Right. We've all given up on him that he'll be the next guy, right? Or he'll be the number one that he was predicted to be. If I could pick a guy to have the career year to be the player that we believed he could be, it would be Colton Parayko. Lead this defense.
I would love that. I'd love for him to be back in my good graces because I have, Bill, I know you're with me. I have a Parayko jersey. I want to wear it, but I just don't feel right because I fucking dog the guy constantly. So I'm with you. I hope that's the case. For me, and this is probably more of a breakout year answer for me, but I'm going to give it anyway. Jake Neighbors. I think this past season, again, I said this before. People say, well, the Blues picked Leddy instead of Perron. I think it was more we can let Perron walk because we got this kid Neighbors coming in who's going to be just as good and have a breakout year. Like David Perron. We can put him on the power play.
And we had 920 goal scorers. We were very deep offensively.
Agree. And that's why I think it was like, we can lose one and absorb this new kid who's going to be fucking good. He's not going to put up 20 goals, but he'll put up 15, 16, 17. Didn't work out the way we wanted. But, man, I tell you, throughout the year, especially when he came back from injury, I really like Neighbors' game.
At the end of the season.
He's got a nose for the net, which I love. He's not willing to back down to anybody, which I love. And you put all that together with the scoring touch, I could really see him having a pretty good year next year.
Yep. I just hope he develops into more than a third line guy. Since he plays a little physical, since he doesn't back down to players, I'd like to see him develop into more than just a third line guy with hands.
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll make the comparison. It's funny to make this comparison because for those that listen to the show know I was never really a big Jaden Schwartz fan. I could see him being like a Jaden Schwartz, a guy that you can put on your first line, but is probably better served as a second line winger. If he's that and put up 50, 60 points, I think that's a great addition for the Blues.
That's exactly who I think of when I think Jake Neighbors at his peak. He'll be a Jaden Schwartz 2.0.
So the question is, if you could pick one player to have a career next season, I think I took that as a prediction and not if I could pick anybody. Yes, you're having a career year. I make it so. Because if I'm like anointing somebody, yes, that's gonna be Parayko. I think he is the key to this defense. If he figures it out and has a rebound season and plays fantastic next season, that does so much for the defense. But I picked a guy who I think will have a career next season, and that's Kyrou. I think after everything that's been said this season about him, at least I hope he does. After everything's been said in the news recently, I think as far as him not being responsible defensively, I would hope that an effort there is made to take that next step to be that more moving towards a more well-rounded player, as well as putting up a lot of points and becoming more valuable a player on both ends of the ice.
Speaking of breakout, Klim Kostin just scored his first NHL playoff goal.
What's the score in the Edmonton LA game?
3-2 Edmonton.
What period?
Second, I
Okay.
believe.
I will turn that on when this Minnesota. Dallas game
Third.
begins.
I'm sorry. It's the third period. 17 minutes left.
Okay. Playoff matchups to watch, guys. What series are you most interested in watching?
Series I'm most interested in is the only one that I've watched so far, and that's Dallas and Minnesota. Just too busy. Why I'm going to drop here in a minute. I have not slept hardly at all this week. But work. Way too much work. But yeah, this is a highly entertaining series. I mean, 10 goals in this game. I did not stay up for the double overtime Wild win.
I did.
Really pissed me off when I woke
Glorious.
up and saw there was Ryan Hartman. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
But this one's really good. I'm gonna do my best to check out the Kraken Avalanche game tomorrow night because Philip Grubauer.
That was a great game last night, honestly. For me, it's Toronto Tampa. Just because, and I don't know. I'm gonna call it, and I'm gonna be wrong. After the game last night, I think Tampa wins this in 4. And to see the explosion in Toronto, yes, give it to me. That's the series to watch. They don't have the goaltending. Toronto does not have NHL goaltending.
Well, how many times do you see a team get blown out in a playoff series though and come back and win the next game though too? So, I'll say I agree with you. I think Toronto and Tampa Bay. That's the series that I'm most interested in watching, just because of the circus that is surrounding Toronto and all the pressure that's on them to win this year. Because they went in for it this year to win it, and it was in a year where it's going to be a dogfight to get out of the East. So. It's going to be great. I'm all for and to see them implode in game 1. What was the score? 7-3, 6-2, whatever it was.
I don't even remember. O'Reilly scored a power play goal.
Yeah, but
I will say I will put O'Reilly up for 2 goals tomorrow night.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. So they'll lose 7-2.
It wouldn't shock me if the Maple Leafs win next game. Wouldn't shock me at all. They almost have to. I mean, they're at home. You can't lose 2 home games unless you're the Blues in the playoffs. The first 2. Or I'm sorry, the Blues won 2 on the road and lost those series against Chicago and LA. That sucks so bad. Okay, off-season predictions, guys. What's an off-season prediction that you think the Blues are going to make?
I'll say that we're going to unload 1 defensive contract, and it's probably not going to be something that we wind up totally enjoying. But I think one of those contracts will get moved.
Jeff?
Logan Brown named captain. For me, I still think, I know we read the comments here from Armstrong. I think all 3 picks get moved and the Blues they move up. Now, clearly, if they get the number 1 or number 2 pick out of this draft lottery, that's not the case. But man, I really think that if Armstrong is dangling the number 9 or 10 pick with his 2 picks later in the draft, maybe you only make 1 selection, but if that's the 5th selection, I think you do it.
Man, that'd be I love, chaos and intrigue and all that junk. So yeah, give me headline news to talk about. Mine is, I say Scandella gets bought out and we don't make as many moves as fans want. So it's kind of like a 2. Like Scandella getting bought out is like the move. I think, Armstrong says he wants flexibility with the cap, right? He wants right now they have $4 million to spend, and he wants like a couple of million, $1 million plus to play with. So I think if he buys out Scandella, that gives him a little more flexibility, which he may want. So to make another move. So I think that's what has to be done. Scandella if you don't buy out Scandella, you're never going to buy out anybody. There's no reason not to buy him out.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. And that may be the move that fulfills my prediction as well.
Yes. Well, we shall see. And Bill, you got to take off?
I am. So, boys, great season.
Yep.
For the show, not for the Blues. But looking forward to the summer series shows, and getting my picks in a little more timely next time. Less than 3 minutes to spare. But thanks for bringing it all season, boys. It's been a lot of fun. We'll maybe see you in some Discord chats during the playoffs.
Yes, we should have mentioned that as an announcement. Actually, we missed that. We're going to be using. I'd like to use Discord more, especially in the playoffs here, just to go in and chat about the playoffs, live games going on, and that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'll do that. And again, with the summer series coming up, again, folks, this is not the end. We still have shows every week. Now, they might not be live, but we do still have them. So, Bill, I will invite you on, and Kurt, obviously, too, for when we do our reveals for who's on the all-time team. So those will be pre-recorded for the most part. Might do a couple live. We'll see. But either way, Bill, I know you'll be back plenty this summer, but great season to you. Get some fucking rest, dude. Jesus Christ. Stop working so much. And we'll talk to you very soon.
Excellent. Thanks, boys.
Late. Had a guy in college always, instead of saying later, it'd say late. You ever hear that?
Late?
Yeah.
No.
It was a guy on in the hockey team at Carbondale. Like leaving the locker room. He'd say, "Hi guys, late." And he'd leave. I'm like, you're later. I don't know anybody who ever said late. I don't know if it's a regional thing.
I recently to my wife, I said, "I got you, fam." She had no idea what that was. Have you heard that before?
I got you, fam.
Fam, F-A-M.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like if you were like, hey Jeff, can you do the editing for the show tomorrow? I'd be like, yeah, I got you, fam.
I take that as short for family. I guess that's not right.
That's because you're my man. That's what that means. Yeah, basically like how we used to say, yeah, you're my guy, you're my man. Apparently that's what fam is now. Like you call someone fam, that means like you're close friends or you're basically as close as family.
Is that on the TikToks? Is that where that is?
I think it's on Friendster, actually.
MySpace. All right. What did let's see, who was that? It was Winning Unlimited. Blues need prospect depth. I think the Blues make 3 first-round picks. I was gonna mention that I thought that might be the case too. I think you had said that you thought that Armstrong might package his picks and move up. And I think
I mean that's my crazy off the cuff prediction. I don't know if it's actually going to happen.
Right. No, I get it. But I was thinking when my first thing, I didn't want to prolong it because I know Bill wanted to leave, but I was thinking in a year with a deep draft, where you're going to get some pretty good players, maybe at each position, maybe you keep those picks. I don't know. It depends on who's available and what it takes to get them. If a player falls a couple spots and the Blues can get him at like 5 or 6, what's going to take. So I'm all for Armstrong being aggressive, super aggressive with the way things went. So this season.
Yep, me too. No, and honestly, in a normal hockey situation, Winning Unlimited, I would agree with you 100%. But I really feel like there is pressure on this team, even with all the trades this year, to win very soon again.
Yeah. Well,
and so I could see them going the way of, well, we can make these 3 picks and stock the cupboard, or we have an offer on the table to trade all 3 and get a player who's ready next season. I could see them.
Yeah, it depends on who it is. It depends on who it is, how much they like him. If it's a top 5 pick, and they think this guy's going to come in and he's going to be a game changer for us. That might be worth it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Moving a defenseman. Armstrong said he's not guaranteeing it won't happen, but not a lot of core players move in the NHL. He said he'll be active to see if he can improve the team. The Blues currently have $6.7 million in cap space, and he wants to have some flexibility. So that means he'll have about $4.2 million to spend, which gives him about 2.4 in flexibility, which is more than he had this year. He had like $1 million this year.
Yeah, well, they know they were going for a cup this year. So I think that's kind of the point with Stillman now is like, hey, I'm still willing to spend a lot of money, but I'm not spending the cap if we're not going for a cup.
Well,
which I wouldn't blame him as an owner. I'd be like, I'd agree with that.
Well,
like, yeah, spend as little money as possible right now.
Well, Armstrong's always wanted to have, when you say spend to the cap, they're not like, they only have $50 left over. It's, he wants flexibility to be able to bring players up, send them down, and to fill out a roster and not go over the cap, in case of injury or whatever. So I think that's flexibility in that regard, where it's like, oh, okay, we got to, just some flexibility to actually not have to play a man short, which teams occasionally do.
And they've done that, and we've seen other teams have to do that. I think Vegas last year didn't they have to play with 16 players. They missed 2.
I believe so. And they a number of games where they had to sit 1.
Yeah.
Free agency.
Well, real quick, sorry, with the movie defenseman, I do have one thing. Basically, he says I liked his comment he actually made when he said he's not guaranteeing it won't happen, but not a lot of core players move the NHL. He actually elaborated on that a little bit too, and said, "Yeah, not a lot of core players move the NHL, but we've moved some out and we've acquired some." And I just think that's funny because it's true. You think about it, Braden Shen's a core player right now, right? They got him in a trade at the draft.
Well,
they've moved out Ryan O'Reilly. They moved out Tarasenko.
Well, when you give teams first round draft picks, you can get core players.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I loved that because I thought, if there's any GM in the NHL who can move in or out core players, it's fucking Doug Armstrong.
And I'm telling you what, I love having Armstrong as a GM. I know that he built the defense, and so he's got to try and fix it. He made the bed, he's got to sleep in it, but he's got to fix it now too. So, but I like the fact that he's the GM and he's a guy that's aggressive. He'll make moves. Whether or not they're the right move remains to be seen. It's hit or miss with every move the GM makes, but I do like the fact that he's not afraid to make a move. Some GMs get cold feet or whatever, or they don't want to get too tentative. I don't think Armstrong's that way. I think he's going to do something this off season, and he probably wants to do more than actually do. So we'll see what happens. Ken Morris says, any predictions on what players are not back next year? Which we'll actually talk about that a little bit.
I say I put that up there because I was going to say we will be talking about that very soon, so stay tuned.
Free agency. Armstrong said we're not going to be a major player in free agency unless things change. And if things change, that means cap space is open. He said, so as of today, no, we're not going to be a major player, but stay tuned. It gets me.
I mean, that to me, that's a kind of a canned answer as far as Armstrong goes. I know he doesn't give canned answers, but to me, it's we don't have a lot of money to spend, and we're not exactly a cup contender next year.
It's a no-brainer answer.
So what do you fucking want me to say?
Yeah, right. If they buy out Scandella and if they get a defenseman to waive a no trade, then we're talking. But until that happens, I don't. We'll see. I think this team is going to. The most moves it's going to make is going to be involving either their first-round draft picks or trades involving the first-round draft picks around the entry draft. Free agency is kind of the Blues are never big in free agency anyway. They never sign big-name free agents. Rarely do. I can't say never. They have, but it's not often.
I mean, as far as my days go, I guess the biggest in
Korea.
It's weird to say this because Korea, because he was not very good here,
but he was past his prime.
He's probably the biggest free agent they've ever signed, at least in my era.
I remember John Davidson saying that they were like celebrating, partying when Korea said he would sign here, and it was like, yeah, well, you missed him by a couple of years.
was gonna say, I mean, end of his Predators days, he was looking a little
Yeah.
rough. So, I mean, he was fine. He still put up like 60 points.
He was
with
okay.
the
He was
team.
okay.
He was fine.
He was okay.
But yeah, I mean, so to me, Perron and Bozak turned out to be huge signings in 2019, as well as Maroon. But to me, at the end of the day, we don't, there's not going to be a signing to me. Like, a couple of years ago, Tavares was available.
No.
Last year, people were talking about Malkin being available. Like, the Blues are never in on those. It's usually the signings of, that was a great signing, but we didn't know it then. We know it 6 months later.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Armstrong, Jimmy Rutherford of The Athletic, friend of the show, Jeremy Rutherford,
Friend of the show.
labeled the Blues players from untouchable to so long in an article in The Athletic. And again, if you haven't subscribed to The Athletic, they run deals often, periodically, whatever, like $1 a month for The Athletic. It's well worth it. I mean, you get the best Blues coverage from Rutherford and other teams.
Best hockey
coverage.
Yeah.
It's great.
They've got some of the best hockey writers in the industry.
And
other sports. Katie Wu, right? She works for them.
She's
great
fantastic
for the Cardinals.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
So there he had categories of untouchable, too important to trade, cheap and valuable, so probably staying put. We like them, but we'll listen, make an offer, maybe moving on, and so long. So he lists as untouchable. And I think when JR mentions untouchable, he's talking about players that simply won't be traded, not that Rutherford is Armstrong is going to refuse to trade him, right?
I think Armstrong would agree with us on our take on the word untouchable.
Yes.
Like, it's not really untouchable. They're
happen.
Guys we don't want to move.
Yeah.
But if you offer me Connor McDavid and
Right.
Leon Draisaitl for Buchnevich and Thomas,
Right.
we'll take it.
They're not going anywhere in just simple terms. Buchnevich, Thomas, Shen, Falk, Hofer. And it's funny to see a backup goalie listed as untouchable. But I get it, right? He's
at the end of the season, not even a backup goalie, an
right.
AHL goalie.
He's the next guy in net. Yeah. And we can't lose that because you can't, he's a key cog moving forward in the years ahead. So I understand why he's there. And
I actually I've started to think more lately that that's why they're okay with just letting Husso go. Like,
right. Yeah,
they knew what they had in Hofer. I think a lot of people at the time were like, "Oh my God, they're just relying on all this with Binnington."
Yeah,
I think it's more, we got this Hofer kid coming up. We think he's the real deal. We don't need Husso.
Right. No, I agree. Any issues with any of those players being quote untouchable? I mean,
not really. I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, again, the biggest one that stands out is Hofer. But it makes sense. I mean, Binnington's on he's got 4 years left on his deal.
Yes, or
I'll
look it up. It is 3 or 4.
I want to say it's 4, right?
Yeah, you're right. It is 4. It is 4.
Yeah, 4 years left on his deal, and you got to figure at that point when that deal's up, as long as it works out the way we think it will, either Binnington moves on at that point, or he stays on as the 1B or the backup. Because at that point, I think it's Hofer's job, and that's what they're envisioning. So, again, even though he's kind of the weirdest one to see up there, I think it makes total sense.
In the too important to trade category, that's where Kyrou and Binnington slot in, according to Rutherford. I think Binnington...
And again, I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I think the Binnington one's going to piss off the Binnington haters. But yeah, no, I think he's perfect right there.
Yep.
And Kyrou too. Kyrou's a guy that... he's not going to get traded. He's too important to the future, but he's not untouchable either, if that makes sense.
So he's got this listed as too important to trade. I think you could also list these two as lightning rods.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Because, my God, these are the two biggest debated players on the roster. So, but I'm with him. I think he's right, 100%.
I agree. Ken Moore said, love JR, enjoyed his online chats when he was with the St. Louis Post. He still does those. Does
it for the Athletic.
Yep. And the cheap and valuable, so probably staying put category. He's got a number of players. Blais, Kapanen, Neighbors, Verana, Torpchenko, Walker, Rosen, Tucker, Alexandrov, Brunovich. It's quite a few. Looking through this and glazing it over, cheap and valuable, so probably staying put. Those are also guys that are easily traded too, if they're cheap and valuable. But probably, like Blais. Blais is interesting because he's valuable here, but I wonder if he's valuable anywhere else.
Not valuable in New York, I'll tell you that.
He hasn't proven to be able to score anywhere else except for St. Louis. But so I get it. Kapanen, yeah, I how valuable that remains to be seen. But yeah,
I look at this. I look at this list of players that you just said, cheap and valuable, so probably staying put. I look at that list of players as if we get a good deal and these guys are included, we'll move them.
Yeah, but that's probably not going to happen.
We're not going to be calling other teams and saying, "Hey, we got this Rosen kid available. Are you interested?"
You know what though?
It's if they're involved in a trade, we're definitely.
And I've said this before. I worry about Rosen being tossed aside in a trade and being picked up by another team and flourishing there. Like we've seen a couple of the Blues defensemen, one in Detroit, Wallman, and one in Seattle with Dunn. I don't think this team appreciates Rosen as much as probably they should, in my opinion. That's just me talking. I know a lot of people might not think he's anything that valuable, but I think he is. And I really hope this team gives him a look next season. I know they've talked about, Tucker's in this list too. And I think Rutherford in his article mentioned that Tucker, they think is valuable. He adds toughness, which I agree. But I don't like him more than Rosen as a defenseman. He adds a lot more toughness. I think Rosen's a much better defenseman. So I don't understand.
I think Rosen's a good puck mover.
I do too.
On a team of defensemen that are basically all puck movers, he's one of my favorites.
He puts up points. And he's pretty good defensively. He's a good plus minus guy. Plus minus isn't a great stat anymore to use, but it's still relevant in some degree. But the team almost like the way Rutherford talks, it's almost like the Tucker is ahead of Rosen on the depth chart in some respects, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. I think Rosen is a talented skater. He's a talented player. Tucker's tough. I don't think he's as when you're replacing talent with toughness, and that's when you get into problems. So I'd rather see Rosen get the nod as a third pairing next season or the seventh guy, at least, over Tucker. We'll see. The rest of this, Brunovich is interesting because I think they had hopes for him to actually be a player this season with the Blues, and he had that injury. And they just said, well, we'll stick you back in Springfield and let you finish it out. Next season is, I think, a big season for him to try and make this team. I'd love to see him make this team. But how many, Krugs do you need on this team? Right? Because he's...
Well, later in the list, we'll talk about Torrey Krug. But if he goes, I think that's a very nice position for Brunovich to put himself
right. And that's the only reason that... And I think I like Krug more than most people. I get the criticism, but I like his upside. I think he had a bad year. But the only reason I'd be like, okay, hey, that's fine. We move Krug if he waives his no trade clause, and we can actually move him for something. Brunovich can step in as long as he stays healthy. Right? I'd like to see a guy step into Krug's spot that can stay healthy because Krug can't, apparently.
Yeah. I agree.
So, but Brunovich is kind of in that boat too. He hasn't proven he can stay healthy, so he's got to prove that.
Again, that shot he took in Chicago that knocked him out for pretty much the entire season.
Yeah,
I'm like, how does that happen? That was nothing.
It was kind of fluky, and he got his elbow up weird.
Fluky.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't brace for hits that way.
No, you don't.
You don't put your elbow out when you brace for a hit. You're gonna jam something serious.
No.
In the we like them but we'll listen category, only a couple: Parayko and Saad. I guess you can't put Saad in the cheap and valuable because he's not cheap. He's not too important to trade.
That's a good spot for him.
He's untouchable. It's a good spot for him if you're going to label these categories this way. Yeah, we like him, but we'll listen. I think that's fair. And Parayko,
And I like Saad. He was getting a lot of trouble earlier in the chat. I can't remember who that was. I don't know if you saw that. Somebody early in the show was talking about how much they hated Saad and they want him gone. And
how come?
Because they say he's a top 6 guy and only had 38 points this year or whatever. A lot of that was injury, so keep that in mind too. And a lot of it was this team was awful. A lot of it was he was on O'Reilly's line, and O'Reilly was awful. But either way, I like Saad. I'm okay with them in this role. The same thing with Parayko. We like them, but we'll listen. Yeah, Parayko finished the season pretty strong, but if he's moved this summer, I won't be crying.
Saad had 49 points last season. And that was the most he had since 18-19 in Chicago, where he had, the most he had since 16-17 in Columbus, 53. So 49 was fine last year for him, I guess. And he had a down year offensively, but the entire team kind of did.
How many points did he have this year?
37.
37. Okay.
19 goals, 18 assists. He was almost,
many games?
one shy of a 20 goal guy. 71.
Okay, so he played a little more than I thought.
Yeah, I missed 11 games.
But still, to me, he's not your one left wing. He's your 2 at the very best. Excuse me, very best. Pavel Buchnevich. Well, he might move into center, but going into the year, Buchnevich was your 1 left wing. He's your 2. And again, I think if this team performs the way they did last year, he's putting up a lot more points than he did.
Well, I think Saad makes 4.5. And last season was about the kind of season he's typically always had. This year, obviously down a little bit, 12 less points than last season. He also missed a few more games, but so I think he is where he's supposed to be. Saad, he's not making 7 or 8 million. He's making 4.5. And he's under contract for where is he? For 3 more seasons. So I think age might creep into it because he's 30 right now. So at the tail end of this contract, it might come in. 33 is not old. So I don't know. I'm fine with Saad. 4.5 million for how he produces. He's like quietly good. I
agree. I love him on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
He's very sneaky and quick on the PK.
Ken Morris says, I like Saad, but he seemed lazy or not interested sometimes. And this season, and I don't want to, I'm not going to disagree with you. He may have, but could that also be a byproduct of the fact that this team sucked this year?
Yeah, very true.
I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. Just trying to, reasons maybe.
I will still stand by. I think he's an upgrade over Schwartz on this roster in Seattle. I'm sure Schwartz is great. They love him. But to me, again, not a Schwartz fan. When they signed Saad, I loved it. It was cheaper than Schwartz, and I think he provides just as much, if not more, than what he does.
He's a 20-goal guy.
Yeah.
And as long as he continues to be a 20-goal guy, I have no problem paying him 4.5.
Yep.
So, and he's, there's no controversy with him as far as his back checking goes necessarily. So I like that. All right. So, and Parayko is in this list too. And I think that's maybe generous. We like him, but we'll listen. Maybe it's under make an offer. A lot of fans would probably like to see him in that category and the category below where Krug and Leddy are. But then you're putting 3 defensemen down there.
Three of your top 4.
Yeah, I know. It says it all, right? In the make an offer category.
I mean, you almost have to wonder if this is Rutherford really playing into Armstrong's hand of, okay, we're trying to move these guys. Let's not put all these guys at the bottom of your list.
Yeah. I think Parayko is probably. I mean, the franchise may like Parayko, and they do. They're going to be patient with him, and and they like him more than Krug and Leddy. Obviously, he's here longer.
He's here longer. He's a homegrown talent too.
Yeah,
they didn't get that with Krug and Leddy.
Right. So I get it. Under make an offer, you got Krug and Leddy, which 4 years left on Krug's deal.
Do you have any problem with them being make an offer?
No.
If
I don't.
either of those guys are not on the team next year, I'm celebrating. I don't care what they get in return. You're freeing up money.
Yeah, and it's not. And it's not. They're freeing up money. I mean, God, if they can move Krug and bring in Prunovich, what does Prunovich make? Because Krug makes 6.5.
He's on his first deal still, I think. So I think he's only making like 1, maybe.
See if I can find him. Prunovich is making $750.
Yeah,
he's like league minimum. So, which is surprising a little bit. But yeah, and only because you have Prunovich to fill in that slot, which I think that has to be something that Armstrong is thinking about. Gosh, if I move Krug, we have Prunovich to move to slot in. Don't even have to acquire a replacement for Krug on defense because you have that guy in Prunovich. So that would save money.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I think you move either of those guys and bring in Prunovich,
Leddy.
and you're saving money, and I think you're even possibly upgrading if Prunovich can step in and play the way we think he can.
Man, Leddy has 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah. God, awful signing.
Well, okay.
We said this a million times that we agreed with the signing at the time.
I understand the signing. And
I understand it too, but now it is not looking like a good signing.
Well, we all understood acquiring him.
Yes.
We didn't like the length of the contract.
No.
And the no trade clause. We hated that.
The no trade is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like 2 years. Now, whatever. That'd have been nice to get it for 2 years with no trade clause, or even 2 years with a no trade. That'd have been okay. But 4 years and a no trade? Come on.
Terrible.
If
you need to give him more term just so you can stretch out that money a little bit more, cool. But yeah, you can't do both. You can't give him a no trade and give him a long contract. That's awful.
Right. Maybe moving on, you got Pitlick, Bertuzzo, and Scandella. So
I'm putting Scandella in the definitely gone category. I don't think he plays another game as a Blue.
Well, he's got it's a 7-team. He submits a list of 7 teams if they're going to trade him because he has that limited no trade clause.
He'll get waived. I think no matter what, he's gone.
So he gets waived first, and then when no one claims him, they buy him out.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they do, right? They waive for the intention of a buyout.
Sometimes.
So I could see that, yeah. Or just waived, and they don't want to buy him out. Just say, okay, enjoy Springfield. Like I don't think we'll see him as a Blue again.
Well, he's got one year left on his contract. So that's if somebody does want a depth defenseman for 1 year, and they don't mind paying, what was it 3.5? What is he making? 3.275. I mean, if you got money to spend, if you got cap space, you need a depth defenseman. Maybe they'd take a flyer on him, but I
guess I'll stand up. Ken's asking what Blues player is on my T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Does that make it pretty obvious?
Yep. Looks like Shane Corson to me.
Shane Corson, that's right.
No. Wayne Gretzky.
It's a Wayne Gretzky shirt.
It's a Wayne Gretzky. It's a vintage.
I remember buying this at JCPenney.
Wow.
I really do. It was right after he got traded here. It was about a week and a half after the trade. We were at JCPenney, and I looked over and saw that shirt from like way across the way. And I'm like, Mom, I want that shirt. And she's like, Jeffrey, no, we're going here. And I'm like, I don't care. I want that shirt. And we went over and bought it.
He won't sign here.
Yeah, right.
He won't re-sign here.
Do you know who our GM is?
Pitlick and Bertuzzo also on that list. Bertuzzo's been here for a long time. He's been here for let's pull it up.
Longest tenure Blue, right?
He is, and it's been 10 years.
No,
9.
2015, I believe.
Let's see. He's been with the Blues. Where is it?
I'm I'm going to say February 2015.
9 years. 9 years. 420 games played for the Blues. 9 seasons. So
I said what? February 2015? I'm going to look it up right now when that trade happened.
you're a little shy. As Price is Right rules, you did pretty good. You did not overbid.
I did not.
I said 10, and then I said 9, so I my first was overbidding.
March 2015.
Very
March
close.
2nd.
You said 16.
Oh, so close. No, I said 15.
Oh, you said 15?
I did.
Oh, you did. So, and then Pitlick's on this list. I have no problem with.
Yeah, he was fine. I
He's
actually
not
hope
fa-
he gets another NHL contract, but yeah, he's nothing to write home about.
Kind of a I mean, he's a serviceable guy. Diamond doesn't
Yeah.
play. I mean, he can play. He's just not worth keeping at the expense of somebody else that might be cheaper. And then in the so long category, you have Brown, Levo, and Grice. Grice, the writing was on the wall a while back. Everyone knew it. Levo, fine. You can't go into the season with him in your starting lineup.
No.
Right. And then Brown, I think
Logan Brown, I'll say going into the year, I was not nearly as negative on him as literally everybody else was. I was like, okay, he doesn't have the speed, but as a fourth line guy, maybe he'll contribute. Dude, by the end of the season, I'm like, what is this guy doing on NHL ice?
He was,
Like,
it's so weird.
He was bad.
It's so weird because early on in his career here, after we acquired him, he was inconsistent, but when he was good, he was good. When he was on, he was on. He's always scoring some goals. Looks good, getting a lot of chances. But that just slowly faded away, and now it's just like he's invisible on the ice. And when you notice him, he's turning the puck over, not making a play. I don't know. I'm it was a nice experiment. They gave him a shot. He was a 11th overall pick.
St. Louis boy.
St. Louis boy. I get it. Give him a shot. Give him every opportunity. It was a little exciting for a little while, thinking, hey, we might have something here. And then he just fizzled and couldn't.
I honestly, I tried when he was on the ice. I'm like, I'm going to watch and see him do something great. He didn't do anything this year. And I mean great as in a good stick check. I didn't see anything from him. And I'm like, if any NHL team signs him and expects anything at this point, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry to say it, man. I root for him. He's a St. Louis boy. I will always root for him. Oh, dude. Not an NHL talent.
Lawrence Frazier says Logan Brown is Jeff Brown's son, right? Correct.
That is correct. Friend of the show, Jeff Brown.
Friend of the show, Jeff Brown. Had him on the show. That was, I told you that, Jeff. That was I've listened to that on the way to the Ozarks. The interview that you did with Jeff Brown, and I just remember enjoying that one more than most. I don't, for some reason, it was a good interview.
He was very lively and gave some great background information on playing for the Blues, more than a lot of players did when I had them on. So
you got to listen.
He was awesome.
You got to listen to that, and then the Greg Millen interview.
Yes, both because were two of my favorites.
Traded for each other.
Yep,
so funny. We're going to get that guy. Okay, we'll trade you for him. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, right. Literally what happened.
Yeah. Greg Millen, we got to go get Jeff Brown. He's good. Okay. Hey, we got Jeff Brown. All right, sweet. We traded you for him.
Okay, but you got traded to Quebec.
Yeah. What? So funny. I don't know how that's happened.
Oh, I'm sure it's happened another time before, but for it to be documented on this show makes me very happy.
All right, so that concludes the list that Rutherford put together, the Athletic. So, and he gives a breakdown of his explanations on why he plays players the way he did. So, go check that out in more detail.
Go check out the Athletic for sure.
The Athletic, yep. And wrapping up before we get to our final segment here, we're going to talk about a few little playoff game stuff.
Well, first of all, do you want to give a nice little shout out to Center Ice Brewery very quickly?
Well, that's what I was going to do. I said before we do the playoff stuff, I was going to give a shout out to Sunrise Brewery.
I'm the worst co-host ever.
I mean, yeah. Do you not understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Clearly not.
No, Sunrise Brewery, great sponsor. Had them for, gosh, what's this, 3 years now?
I want to
Right?
say they came on right at the same time as Dustin, if not right before.
Might be. We had them. We had Sunrise when Manscaped was still here.
And we had Dustin with Manscaped as well. So
Okay.
yeah, 2 to 3 years, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And Sunrise Brewery, when they had the tap room open, the brewery open to the public, and hanging out there, watching Blues games, so much fun. Bringing food in, hanging out, playing bubble hockey, drinking their beer. It was good stuff. And I know that they're working on finding a new place to brew beer, but their beer is still being brewed. Is it Charleville Brewery? I think it is that they're that's helping them brew beer. I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, the one in St. Genevieve.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think. Don't hold me to that. But their beer is still being brewed. You can find their beer, numerous places around St. Louis. Just check around. It's good stuff. Good hockey themed beer. Yeah, fun can to show off when you're done. Put it on a shelf when you're done drinking it. Right. Some good artwork, some hockey artwork on those cans. But I know Steve Albers has started a new venture with on his YouTube site, on his Facebook page too, about documenting his time and what he's doing now, and his experience as opening the brewery and things like that. So it's he's kind of going that route right now, is while they're also looking for a brewery for to house their beer. Hopefully they get a place in the same kind of area they were before, like downtown or Central West End, or somewhere around this, somewhere that you could take a shuttle to the game, right? That'd be kind of nice.
Yep.
So, but yeah, Sunrise Brewery, fun sponsor. I think if they fit right in with, obviously with this show. We've had Steve on the show, great guy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what Sunrise has to bring in the years to come too, because I know that they're eventually going to get back in a brewery. So, and actually a brick and mortar store you can walk in and get their beer. So, yeah, that'll be fun.
I know a lot of Friar Tucks in the areas have them. I want to say even I know the A1 Liquor by me out in South County has them. But there's a lot of places out in the areas that have them. SunriseBrewery.com. Go there. You can find where their beer's at on their locations page.
Yep. Let's see. Rapid fire tidbits for around the NHL. I guess we talked about some playoff series already that we'd like to watch, which kind of, I guess, really covered this to some degree.
Yeah, I guess let me just ask you, from what we've seen. So we've seen a couple game 2s now, but mostly game 1s. What's stood out to you?
Toronto imploding versus Tampa Bay, and then that was just like I don't know whether to laugh or cry for Toronto. It's just like it's like a car wreck. You just can't. It's like I can't look away because it's Toronto. I'm like, either they win and it's a huge story, or they lose and it's a huge story, and the fans are going ballistic. It's like it doesn't matter what happens with Toronto. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I was listening to the Friends of the Show, the Puck podcast, this past week, and one of the things that Doug Stolhan said, which I 100% agreed with, because Matt Murray is still out, and even with Matt Murray, if Samsonov doesn't get the job done, who the fuck do you go to? Yeah. Even with Matt Murray in the lineup, do you really go to Matt Murray, or do you go to that what's his name, Justin Wohl? Like,
yeah, he was backing up.
Who do you go to?
He came in the game.
Samsonov's pulled, and guess what? Samsonov does not have a good first game. Neither does the Toronto defense, to be honest. So that you put in Wohl, and you lose. You give up 7 goals.
Yeah, because Samsonov started, and Wohl came in, and Wohl's numbers this year are actually pretty good. 9.32 save percentage, 2.16 GAA. Only played in 7 games.
Right.
So
Unproven goalie.
6 wins, 1 loss. So he looked in limited time this season. He had a nice little run, but yeah,
Right, and we've seen well, clearly Blues fans know we've seen goalies with no playoff experience go on crazy runs. So you think maybe he just takes it and runs with it, but you can't rely on that. And with Samsonov having a bad first game, Toronto right now is shuffling. Like, what do we do in goal? Like, what do we do?
Well, Samsonov got the bulk of the starts for Toronto this season. He started 42, and Matt Murray started 26. And Samsonov was, 919 save percentage, 233 GAA.
But his playoff numbers have been bad in the past.
Yeah, well, but I'm saying that he's playing behind a very good team. So it's kind of like you shouldn't have to be a great goalie to win. But then again, in the playoffs, you're in the East, you're playing great teams. You're playing Tampa Bay. You're going to play Boston. You're going to play Carolina, maybe whoever. There's a gauntlet of fantastic teams you got to get through if you want to go anywhere in the playoffs. And Samsonov, I looked at his playoff numbers here. Yeah, well, I mean, he's only played in 9 games in the playoffs. He has 1-7, 895 save percentage, 345 GAA total. Limited action.
Well, and a good example of that is also the Boston-Florida series, how Alex Lyon versus Linus Ullmark. They both, between them, had 2 playoff games played before.
Yeah.
Both being played by Ullmark, who was not good in the playoffs before, had an excellent season. So again, it does go to show that you don't have to be a proven NHL goalie to still come in the playoffs and play well. But the question was, what do you do if Samsonov doesn't play well? Well, Tampa's figuring that out, Toronto's figuring that out right now.
And then Boston, they won game 1 and they lost game 2. So it's tied. Florida scored 6 tonight on Ullmark.
They had a big game.
I think, okay, so did you see the Michael Bunting hit on
Yes, I did.
Cernak? Okay. What did you think about it? Because he got a 5-minute major in a game misconduct. He got a 5-minute match. He was kicked out of the game because of the 5-minute major for an illegal check to the head of Tampa Bay's Eric Cernak. So Eduardo A. Encina of the Tampa Bay Times wrote, Bunting left his skates on the hit and launched his left elbow into Cernak's head when that wasn't the case at all.
I was gonna say, what game was he watching?
I mean, it's one of those. And this is in the paper. He's just supposed to. But so I read that. I think I'm gonna go back and look at this play. I'm gonna go look at this.
I think it's a dirty hit, but that is not at all what happened.
I didn't think it was a dirty hit. I thought it was a hit that had an unfortunate result. I don't think he really went after his head. I'm not saying that he hasn't. I mean, Bunting's not the cleanest player, but so Cernak is to Bunting's left. The play is to his right. Bunting's almost looking to the right. He sees Cernak there. He goes to hit him. I don't think he was targeting his head. He got his head. I don't think he was on purpose. I don't think they're on purpose, but it was a hit away from the puck. 2 guys came together. I don't think Cernak was expecting it. But he didn't leave his feet and launch into his elbow into the guy.
I do think he did put his elbow into his head pretty good, and I know
he did.
Maybe
His
it wasn't
elbow came up.
intentional. Yeah. But he fucking got him good.
No, he did.
And I do think you need to suspend that.
No, I agree with the call. I agree with all that. I just, I guess when I hear dirty, I think intentional. I thought, he tried to hit him in the head with his elbow. I don't think that was the case.
You got to be more in control of your elbow. His elbow did fly up.
I agree, but I don't think it was just. I think it was I just think it was an attempt to check it, and it just got away from it. Now he could have very well said, "I'm gonna take a shot with my elbow." That may very well be what he was thinking, but I just looking at the play, I just didn't get that vibe. That's all.
Yeah, maybe, but still, I agreed with it. I don't 3 games I was actually very surprised they gave. In the playoffs, that's a lot.
It is
I
a lot.
thought
That's like 6
maybe
games during the
1
season.
game tops.
I did too. I was very surprised.
So I was surprised by that, but at the same time, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I think Michael Bunting is a fucking piece of shit. I'm not a fan of him at all.
Yeah, and so the league saw it differently than I did. Obviously, you give a guy 3 games in the playoffs, it's for something really reckless and borderline intentional, right? I mean, and so maybe they thought it was that way. I didn't read the write up on their explanation, but I don't know. A good call on the play, but again, it was the right call. 5 minutes, I get it.
And again, this is where I like replay, and I think it should be if like you said before, to me, you either do it all the way or you don't do it at all. And I think this is a good example of how replay can be good because I think they originally were going to call him for 5 minutes, but they were like, hey, you know what? Instead of just calling it and then maybe having it wrong, we're going to review it. And they reviewed it. It was the proper time. It didn't take forever. And they agreed it was a 5-minute penalty and kicked him out.
Yeah. Well, and they always review 5-minute majors. So
right. And that's good.
Yeah. And they review 4-minute double minors too, which it's interesting how that works because a play that, I think the officials might not be sure of on what happened, they'll give a double minor to a guy just so they can go and review it. And then after they review it, they can take the entire thing off the board if they want.
Yeah, that happened earlier this year for the Blues. They, I think they called it high sticking, and they were like, "Oh, it's a 5-minute high sticking," so that way they could review it. And it turns out it wasn't even a high stick that got the guy. So they were like, "We'll have to review, even though it should have been a penalty. I think it should have been called interference or something." Even though it should have been a penalty, they were like, well, it's not actually high sticking, so we have to take it off the board.
Right, because you cannot call a penalty on a replay, like a new penalty. You can only adjust the one you've called, which that's weird. I mean, if you're gonna, but no, I'm with you. I wish the coaches could challenge any penalty, with a challenge. That's not a hook. That's not a hold. You got it wrong. I don't want to. In a playoff game, power play, and to give a power play goal is huge, can be, and the collusion game. And I give a coach a challenge on a penalty. We'll give them one in a game, and if they get it right, they can challenge again. I don't see a problem with that. Any penalty, 2 minutes even. I don't know. In the Dallas and Minnesota game, the Pavelski left the game after hitting his head on the ice after taking a check from
game 1.
Yeah, in game 1. From Matt Dumba, deja vu for Pavelski from a few years ago against San Jose when Pavelski was with Pavelski with San Jose when they played Vegas. No major penalty on the play, even though they gave a double minor, so they could review it. Same situation that we just talked about, and then they took the double minor away after the review. So, a lot of people were saying they thought this hit was late. I didn't think so.
I didn't have a problem with this.
I didn't have a problem with it at all. I didn't think it was late. I didn't think it wasn't to the head. It was a hard hit that Pavelski didn't brace for and was knocked sideways and hit his head on the ice, and that's where his injury came from. He hit his head on the ice.
To me, this is just one of those situations that's just tough luck. Like, it's hockey. It's a contact sport. It will always be a contact sport, even if you take fighting and other things out of it. This was just an unfortunate play.
It's just you see so many comments from people about how late hit. I'm like, dude. I mean, it was a half a second after he released the puck. Literally, it was 0.6 seconds after he released the puck that he was hit.
And again, go get on ice skates, play a pickup game, and tell me that you can react that quickly. Puck's off the stick, and you're just like, can't hit him. Like, that's not how it works.
And you're allowed to. There's a. How many times do you see a player dump in a puck and the defenseman will hit him and rub him out of the play like a second and a half after? It's a lot. There's a lot.
Because you've already got your momentum going. You can let up a little bit, but you're still going to hit the guy. You're not going to stop all the way.
Not every hit that results in an injury is a penalty. That's the problem people have. They see Pavelski knocked out of the game with a hit to the head where his head on the ice. It's not. Dumba's fault. I mean, it was a solid hit by Dumba that Pavelski didn't brace himself for, and he got hurt. It happens. I have no problem with the hit.
You know what? If only hockey fans could be more like Lawrence here. He is full out admitting that he's wrong, and I love it. I just don't like Matt Dumba, and a late hit is 0.06 seconds. You know what? At least you're admitting that it's just that you don't like Dumba. Good for you, man. I wish more fans like with the Binnington shit would just be like, yeah, you can justify all you want. I just hate Binnington, and I'm going to argue with you because I hate Binnington. If people said that to me, I'd be like, okay, then we're done here. I'm good with that.
I think the league define like a time frame like it's over a second, like a second and a half.
Yeah.
Anything under a second and a half is not late.
Yeah.
So something like that. And it was
well, anyway, this series,
it was a double overtime
I'm
win.
loving
double overtime win for Minnesota in game 1.
That was a hell of a game.
Oh.
So you said that you were not able, or no, I'm sorry, Bill said he did not stay up for it. I did not stay up for it either. I was laying in bed and I could not fall asleep. And I got the message on my phone. The NHL will do that sometimes. This game's going to second overtime thanks to this save from Gustafsson or whatever it was. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to double overtime? All right, fuck it. Let's go watch. And so I just got up and went and watched, and I'm glad I did because that was a hell of an overtime.
But Dallas has a thing about losing double overtime playoff games, don't they?
They do.
And
they dominated that period.
Well,
too.
And the thing is with Minnesota dominated the regulation. And then Dallas came back and dominated overtime. And which was kind of the exact same thing that happened in game 7 of the Blues. The Blues absolutely dominated the regulation in game 7 against Dallas in 2019. And then Dallas came alive in overtime and had a bunch of chances. So, and this game was fantastic. A lot of great saves in this overtime. So many good saves.
Gustafsson and Ottinger. Ottinger made
they
had that power play.
Glove save, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. They had a power play, the Stars, in double overtime. Couldn't score, and right at the end, I don't remember who it was, the Wild broke out on a breakaway, and he made a ridiculous save to keep it at a tie game. He's great. I love watching Ottinger play.
Oh, he was fantastic in game 7 versus who they play? They lost last year to a great game 7 performance by Ottinger, and he lost.
Who did it? Colorado?
Was it Colorado?
I can't remember. Why am I? All right. I'll look it up.
Yeah, and
you keep going.
Colorado and Seattle. I just wanted to ask you if it pains you to be rooting for a Grubauer.
Yeah, it actually does. I'll admit, last night I was sitting there watching the game and I was like, all right, yeah, go Seattle. I'm like, oh yeah, Dunn, Schwartz, sure, even though I was never a big fan of yours, but hey, you're a former Blue and you won the cup here. And then, I don't know, they made the call on the Grubauer save, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize he was in. I'm like, damn it, I got to root for Grubauer.
It was game 7 against the Flames last season, and it was a 64 saves in a 3-2 overtime loss. He made 64 saves.
We got Justin Scott and Lawrence Frazier telling us Calgary. So thank you.
I should have looked in the chat. I was looking up online.
I should have too. I was
the chat had it
off screen trying to look it up.
The chat had it.
They always do.
Thanks, boys.
They always got our backs.
Thanks, boys. Yeah. So in Colorado, Seattle, Seattle came alive tonight. Holy cow! I mean, that was or was it tonight? Last night.
That was
last night. Sorry, last night. Yep. And they won 3-1.
Yep.
So they lead the series 1-0. How amazing would it be for Colorado to lose to Seattle in the first round?
Well, and that is the one series that I have not heard anybody give any chance to the lower seed. Like we hear even like LA and Edmonton. Well, LA can do this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like Florida, Boston, I've even heard people say, even though Boston had that historic season, people saying Florida's a damn good hockey team. They better watch out. Anyone that I've heard talk about Colorado, Seattle, Colorado's going to breeze through that series. Well, they ain't doing it yet. They're down 1-0, and I love it.
And Florida did win tonight. They beat Boston 6-3, so they stole home ice advantage from Boston. But stealing home ice only is relevant if you maintain it. You can't go back and lose a home game now, otherwise you lose it. They've stolen it back.
Oh, how awesome would it be if Seattle took both games out of Colorado?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Would that not be amazing?
There's got to be a lot of pressure on Colorado right now. You can't lose game 2. Otherwise, that means you only lose one game in the final rest of the way. So, funny how it works after one game. All of a sudden, 7-game series, but one game losing it's that home loss. If you're on the road and you lose game 1, it's not a huge deal. You've got game 2 yet, and if you lose game 2, not a big deal. Win your home games and then steal one in their building the final 2. That's what you got to do. But man, if you're the home team and you lose the first home game, you're like,
well,
oh
because
shit.
You basically lose home ice advantage if you split after the first 2 games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So the fact that you lost game 1 and now there's potential you go down 2-0, look out. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think they said the team that wins the first 2 games of a series wins like over 80% of the time.
I'm sure it's like that.
But I'd like to see what it is when the away team wins the first 2 games in the away on the road in a series. It's got to be massively high. But and what happened to the Blues against LA and against Chicago in a few year span? They won the first 2 games and then on the road and then lost the series.
Yep.
Wait,
that was
in Chicago.
LA was at home.
LA was at home. Okay.
Chicago was on the road, and that one really hurt.
Yeah, it did. Justin Scott says, "Hey, Blues didn't make the playoffs, but at least that douche cadre isn't in there either." That's a good point. That's a good point.
Fucking A. Fuck you, cadre.
All right.
Well, I think we're at 2:40 for this show. I think we're ready to wrap up.
I'm done. I'm out of things to talk about.
Yeah, me too. Well, again, a great season. We're actually closing up season 11 here and starting season 12 next week. So looking forward to that. Again, summer series, folks. So for those that love to listen live, we're not going to be doing every show live. Like I said, we'll have a couple for sure, and we'll keep you posted on social media. But when we have episodes that will still be posted on Wednesdays at our normal time, Kurt doesn't like that I post them at 9:15, so maybe I'll post them at 9:16.
I don't like that. Oh.
Yeah, you yelled at me last year. Promptly at 9:15, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not recording anything. I'm just posting.
It's our thing to show up late.
It's your thing to show up late.
When's the last time you had 9:15 show? You like 9:20.
I think the last time Bill and I started was about 9:17.
Late.
We got started.
That's late.
But either way, so yeah, Kurt will be in throughout the summer, Bill as well as some other very special guests that'll be jumping on. So yeah, we'll be having a show next week. Vanessa Graff will be on. We'll be talking Springfield Thunderbirds. Again, that show will post live Wednesday next week at 9:15, and the podcast will be available shortly after. So, and again, if you want to watch at 9:15 on Wednesday night, again, that's Central Daylight Time, I'm in the chat. I'll be in there talking with people, so you can still have your normal chat time as you do with these other Blues fans.
And also our Discord server, I think we're going to make an effort to be in there during some playoff games, just to chat about the games that are going on in Discord. That'll be fun. And also, and I forgot to mention earlier in the show when I should have, I'm going to be on the air tomorrow morning at 8:30 with Randy Molman on 97.1 for probably 15-20 minutes or so.
I think it's hilarious that you're pitching this now to the crowd that is up with us at
I know.
12:20.
I completely forgot to start the show. I put in the announcements. So yeah, in 8 hours, a little over 8 hours, I'll be on the air with him. So that'll be fun. Talking Blues hockey, recapping the season. Always fun to be on his show.
Well, that is very exciting and very cool, because the fact that we're still talking about playoff hockey, end of Blues season, and you're jumping on the radio in St. Louis to talk about hockey, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So good for the Mole Man.
Yeah, Mole Man's he's a good guy. He's good. He's a hard worker.
Yep.
One of the hardest working men in sports talk radio in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's true. I'll take it.
All right.
And I'll add too. This I actually haven't told you this yet. In July, I will be co-hosting the Puck Podcast with Eddie Garcia.
But the whole month.
That'll be fun. No, I think it'll just be either the 7th or the 14th. But
Okay.
yeah, very exciting. So tune into that episode. I'm sure I'll work in plenty of blues talk for y'all.
Okay. Sounds perfect. All right. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com and get 10% off by emailing Dustin at rockinthatidlife@gmail.com and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. And by Mike Burgoyne from Real Brokers Realty. Visit strikewithmike.com today for all of your home buying and selling needs. That's strikewithmike.com. And by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's tasty hockey-themed beer. Check out your local beer vendors for availability. That's Center Ice Brewery beer. Please drink responsibly. That'll wrap up episode 33 of season 11 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go Dallas Stars. Let's go Tampa Bay Lightning. And let's go Blues.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
You thought I was going to say, son of a bitch, didn't you?